Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Good to see you guys. Good to see you guys. Hot off the heels of last night's Fright Bite. Who was at the Fright Bite last night? Tell me. I'm gonna pull up the thingy McJiggy. Live Hangout number 28 last night. More people are starting to figure out that the Fright Bite's actually a lot of fun. And I know Spicoli, who's a regular here, loves Fankoli, which is the dude that's locked up in C101 jail cell there. Next to him is Dr. Low. Actually, that's Speedwolf. Speedwolf is locked up in the middle one, and Dr. Lobo is in the third one over there. This gentleman sporting the suit, this werewolf in the suit, is Agent Skunk, which is the newest team member that was grown in a lab by Dr. Von Brainscan, which is pretty dope. And that's the pretty princess, Dahlia Dark, right there.
Yeah, pretty princess.
Everybody loves Dahlia Dark. If ever her camera goes out or anything, people freak out. They're like, "Where's Dahlia? What happened?" Like, I don't even know if they would hang out if she wasn't there. And she was. So if you didn't catch last night's show, just go to the live section of the Unleashed channel, and you can enjoy all the Fright Bites that we've ever done, all 28 of them so far. And some of the new fans we have are fantastic too. Did you guys see this super dope Bite Down on It shirt that Ariel and Bailey Troll made for me and Dahlia? It's super sweet. This is a pretty high quality shirt. It gave me a black one and a white one, and I decided to rock the white one tonight. And they made some other cool stuff too. Look at that. A Bite Down on It glass that's super dope. And I know I should have washed it first, but I didn't. I also am bad at like washing lots of stuff. Some people are very diligent on such things, specifically like fruits and vegetables and stuff. I mean, I don't know. I made it this far and I don't really worry about it too much. Frank Hannon made a video from Tesla fame recently where he's like discovered that all this stuff has bugs and chemicals on it and stuff like that. And he's freaking out. He had I think he put some like concoction of baking soda and something else to like clean these vegetables, and he was like putting them into this bowl of stuff, and all this white worms and gook and crazy stuff was like oozing out of there. I mean, at that point, if I saw something like that, I don't even think that I would continue eating it even after all of it crawled out. I'm just like, protein, I just eat it. I mean, I don't think about it that much. I don't know how much poison is like sprayed on that they leave and put in public. It's got to be I would imagine a small amount. I mean, actually, since I saw his video, I have to admit I at least do rinse them off now. If I like some blueberries or something, I'll grab a handful and then I'll like go over to the sink and kind of just run the handful in the sink and then dump it in the yogurt or whatever, or my mouth. Blueberries is one of those things I used to just grab out and go, blueberries. Man, they make your teeth look messed up though, right? Whew. Let me say hi to you guys tonight. Looks like the chat's already blowing up. We got Warrior X. Hi, Eric. What amp head are you using live? Well, I have my Marshall JCM 900s are what I request on our gear riders. And I chose that Marshall because it's pretty easy to get. Most backline companies have those. And I feel that if I had no pedals or anything, if the airlines lost all my stuff, I would totally be able to like just walk up to one of those 900s and not even have to hear it. I could just, dial it in exactly like I do it in like 2 seconds. There is like, I know Joel Hoekstra asks for the JCM 2000s, which is a more modern one. I have owned that one. It was okay. The TSL has even more buttons and switches. And I'll be honest, I hate all that. I can't have like 40 rows of buttons and push in crap. Like the 900 to me is a more streamlined amp. I could totally get the old Ratt sound with it if I had to. But remember what I have going live at these shows. Matt and I made a profile for my Splon Quick Rod 100 head that I actually purchased the amp from Splon probably 2 years ago. I've owned other ones. It's probably the third one I bought from him in the last 20 years. They're very reliable, you know, American made amp. And unfortunately, I can't travel with it. You know, most of the Pearcy shows are fly out shows. So we have to like request a backline that's doable, you know. And so I asked for that 900. I take my Tone X that has the profile for the Splon in there. And that's one cable that runs out of that Tone X into the send, I guess, of the actually it's the I think it's the return it goes into. I could be wrong. I always forget, but of the amp. And so it's just kind of a one cable thing. It's super simple now. And then it's not using all the buttons and everything on there. It's kind of sidestepping that stuff. You're really just using the power of the amp. You're just using the volume. Sometimes the presence will work on a few different amps, but anyways, that's what I've been using live. It's the Splon head being played through some Marshall cabinets usually, and then we put the other amp on just to look like something's on over there. Skylar, good evening, everyone. Yes, good evening, all my Unleashed people. Last night, if you were there, I would have called you my Fright Biters, which they named themselves. Skylar had a fun fright bite last night. Yep. I got dangerous last night, and I decided to butcher a Tom Petty song at the top of the show. It was like sometimes right before when I'm taking a shower, like, I don't know, an hour before the show, I'll get an idea. You hear music in your head or songs pop in. I'm always thinking of like a song that I could possibly swipe out the lyrics and the words fright bite will work in the lyrics. And I landed last night on Tom Petty Breakdown, that I was able to change Breakdown to fright bite. And so when I was in the shower, I was like, I think I can make that work with the Count singing voice, because that's the whole other thing too. It's not just having a perform a song live, it's performing a song that you really haven't even tried to learn. You're going to try to learn it a few minutes before the show, and it's got to be one that you can kind of change some of the lyrics to do something funny with it. And I don't know, I'm okay with it. The sound, the reason why I don't play much live is because I'm still struggling to get like the sound right. Like as far as having just this microphone and playing acoustic guitar, you can tell it gets a little garbled and stuff. I have to I did pay to get this setup going on here, and when I tested it with Dahlia, she can't hear any difference. So I was like, crap. So it's something I'm still working on. No rush. I mean, we have fun just doing these. And if you're wondering what this is, if you just kind of stumbled on my show tonight, I do this every Wednesday. It's an AMA style hangout. That's the simplest way to put it. You just get in the live chat. You can ask me about anything in my life. The last 25 years of my life have been playing guitar for stephenpearcy, the voice of Ratt, the beloved, iconic Ratt singer who just celebrated a 70th birthday, which is amazing that he throws on the leathers, goes out there. All these guys that still do it, Halford, Alice Cooper, I love it. They're now like the grandfathers of metal in a cool way. And I love how this younger generation totally loves them too. Whether it's Ozzy, any of these guys, if you haven't noticed, like the 25 and younger people totally have the utmost respect for the living legends and the ones that have passed on, which is way more than I can say for the people my age and older. Like, it's crazy the disrespect that gets thrown around typically by bitter people or people whose lives haven't worked out the way they wanted them to. And it's weird that you would reach an older point in your life and still waste energy throwing negativity and hatred out on the internet. You know, usually those people don't get a big response from it either. And in their circles, nobody even pays attention to them. but they can go online to these online magazines, and actually not just with music. I mean, you see these types on every article comment section. There's moderators in most that kind of get rid of a lot of that stuff, but it just seems like with the heavy metal ones, people can be super brutal. Lately it's come, Motley's been the big talk. People have all kinds of terrible things to say about Vince Neil, and such. I was asked about my opinion of his performances and whether I think he's going to continue and whatnot. And, my answer was, I think as long as he can run out on that stage, he's definitely going to stay out performing. And me personally, the only time that I really wish people would just kind of call it is when they can no longer kind of walk out on their own. Like as soon as you're like getting wheeled in a wheelchair and stuff, it starts to be just sad. It becomes a sad thing to see. Or they get so old, they're like 90 something years old. You know what I mean? Then it's like, me personally, I'll pass. But I did give an explanation of why I think people still show up to these things. And it's kind of just the same. It's just the people wanting to celebrate this band and celebrate their heroes that are these guys, that they just want to be in the same room as these guys that gave them so much enjoyment from when they were teenagers till now, and so many great memories and concerts that they would, especially now that they probably have more money than they did when they were a teenager, they would be more than happy to pay $100, $200 to go hang out with other Motley Crue fans and get rocked up for the night and hear the band slamming the songs out. And if Vince is having an off night or an on night, most of them will have fun regardless. You get a lot of armchair quarterbacks that are watching the YouTubes and stuff, which that could really screw up the reference point of watching live performances. Most of you guys know that. I know it personally just from trying to find stuff to put in my road videos that the fans took, where depending on like where they're standing, it just could sound like crap. If they're really, especially if they're very close to the front of the stage. I found at that time, you never hear the back row vocals, the guitars like way too loud. You're possibly getting the dry monitor of the singer, which it won't sound good. It won't have all the effects in it and stuff that the front of house is throwing out. The best sound's probably from the middle around where the sound guy is. That's probably where we're going to get the best overall sound. Another thing I threw out was, instead of asking if it's time for Vince to quit or something like that, is I asked, well, what if Vince were to have a lot of his vocals blown in or something, and the thought of that to some might be really off-putting, but in my opinion, the reality is most, if not all of these stars right now that are out playing in pop music, specifically, most of them, not all, I'm kind of exaggerating there, but I would say, I don't know, what do you guys think? Like half of them are not really singing. They're like lip syncing, specifically the ones that have a lot of dancing going on. Machine Gun Kelly comes to mind. I saw one of his performances, and I see his charisma as a person, and I'm sure he has some cool songs that he's been a part of and everything, but just basing it off watching his performance, I went, oh, clearly he's not singing any of this. And he's doing so much intricate choreography that you could see that he's focusing on, and he's like flipping his microphone and stuff like that. But he'll be singing, and then he'll just start flipping the microphone, and the voice just continues on perfectly. And that's just not what it would sound like if that was a live microphone that you were working with, But these guys are playing stadiums and stuff like that. And man, just so many, even metal bands are blowing in a ton of tracks and things. Some of this newer metal stuff, screamo stuff, and some bands not so much. Some of them are actually playing, but a good amount of them aren't. They have laptops with all that shit blasting through, and they might be doing some of the parts here and there. But I threw it out there like, well, what if Motley played pretty much live and a lot of Vince's stuff was on tracks and he was just running out there? Would that be okay, or would you give him crap for that too? And then this week now, everybody's bashing on him for, I think, doing just that. Like I had mentioned it last week, right? And then here this unfolds this week. I mean, I'll just say I get it. I think these guys are going to continue to play, as I said. Not to mention Motley, if you don't recall, has made huge like money deals in the last like Live Nation type stuff and other things where I would imagine they would probably weekend at Bernie's this thing to get their investments back and so forth. So I think the train's going to keep chugging along, in my opinion. What else we got going on here? Have I ever tried a Marshall JVM 410H? I don't know. I don't know if I have. I'm going to say no. I don't think I have. Are they good? Do you like them? What amp do you use for practice? Well, that's a good question. I do have one of those Spark amps. Is it over here? Oh, yeah, here it is. This guy. Spark amp, available at Guitar Center. Anyway, this thing's really portable. I would suggest not packing it in your actual suitcase if you're traveling or something. They'll keep it on your person because they do throw away anything that's got any kind of lithium battery or anything in it. The TSA will grab it out of your bag and throw it away. This might fall into that. But even at home sometimes, this thing's pretty cool, but it's very easy to take along, and it's got a bunch of different tones in it that you can use. It's only like $100 for this thing. And then when I'm sitting right here, I have Logic Pro opened, and I'll have the Tonex thing going. I'll have like IK Multimedia, and I'll be using the amp sims and stuff like that. Sometimes I will fire up like behind this green screen I have going here tonight. There is a wall of amps behind there, but I am in an apartment condo type situation, so I can't really play all that loud, even on the smallest level, turning the effects loop down or something and using the Tonex into one of those things to test my stuff for the tour. Even on the lowest thing, it's pretty loud in here, so there's only so much I can do. It's a little more controlled to practice on that little thing or on my computer here with the little monitors. But occasionally when I'm, if I got neighbors stomping and stuff up and down and people are screaming in the middle of summer and screeching tires and boom boxes and everything, then I'm like, hell yeah, whatever. I just turn on the big amps back here. Got Jay Lee in the house, y'all. What's happening, Jay Lee? Woo, Cemetery Gates sparking, passive folks. What's good from San Antonio, y'all? Howdy, brother Erik. Yeah, I had to get that in before you know who gets home. She'd be like, I smell weed. And then I have to explain it. It must be outside. There is a neighbor that we have that actually totally fires up in her place. And sometimes that wafts. I've gotten in trouble for her shit before. And that's scary. That's hard. That sucks when you've been busted for things a bunch of times, and then the one time it's not your fault, but they just automatically blame you for it. Oh, man, Warrior X is like, yeah, burn it up. Do it. We got Itelfin. You ever go to Harbor Pelican at the beach bayou? Yeah. We've gone to all those spots. Susan's was a regular a lot of these places for a long time in her drinking days. She doesn't drink as much lately, so she doesn't really hang down with those harbor people. They're not a rough crowd, but they're rough around the edges, I would say. Dotson saying hello to everybody in the chat. Cemetery Gates is saying ripped off runts is the current chronic. And holy shit, man. Whoop, whoop. Yeah, there's so many funny kinds of names for weed nowadays. And I've had some funny ones lately. I'll have to pull up my menu from the place I go. There's like a lot of Seinfeld ones, like yada yada, things like that. There was a mafia one that I had. I'm trying to think of what this one of this last ones I had. See, that's the problem when you smoke, you can't remember anything. Cemetery Gates. Hi, dude. Woo, Stoney's here, everybody. Hey, y'all. Hey, Stoney. Thanks for pumping the show tonight. Skunk is the funk. Yeah, he I guess you'd say he tests well with like test audiences. I mean, with Frightbite, I'll be honest, I've tried a lot of different things, to see where the magic is. And, that's how it is, even when they cast for movies and such, seeing the right chemistry and the right characters. And there is a lot of trial and error with that. Today I saw, I don't know if this went by your guys' streams today, but Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Like I started seeing the Alex Winter, tryouts where they had like him and then a couple of other different actors like reading for the Bill and Ted's roles and stuff. It seemed like they pretty much knew they wanted Alex Winter, because in most of this reel, he's definitely reading for like most of these. And they're going through some other people that I recognized. There was a movie, Summer School, and one of the Spicoli type actors from that, the one guy with the straight blonde hair, Tom Petty looking dude that always kind of had a hat on or whatever. He was reading for it, and it didn't quite work. Obviously, when Keanu finally shows up, you're like, okay, there's the magic we're looking for. I was always funny because they were like, man, he does such a good Valley guy, California, San Bernardino Valley surfer voice or whatever. That's, the Valley's not a surf territory, but you know what I mean. To everybody else, it's a surfer accent. But that's pretty much Keanu's regular way he talked in every movie from then out, including Point Break. I mean, that's just the way he talks. But it was like, hey, man, you do such a great Valley guy. Anywho, I've seen other stuff too. Have you ever seen Back to the Future outtakes where Eric Stoltz was Marty McFly instead of the other Family Ties guy, Michael Keaton guy? Anyways, it's interesting to watch that sort of thing. But with Frightbite, I've had lots of villains that we've come up with so far. Not too many. Never thought of having another good guy on the team. I mean, of course, there was Dr. Von Brainscan, and there's Dr. Ivana Howell that work at the lab, and they're kind of good. I mean, they do pay Dahlia and the Count their vampire dollars that they pay their bills with and stuff. But technically, Dr. Von Brainscan did fund the gain of function werewolf studies, and he did fund the gain of function merman studies. And these creatures that were developed through these technologies at the lab ended up escaping and causing a lot of trouble in the public. So is he completely a good guy? I don't know, not really. But sometimes bad guys could do good things, or bad guys can have jobs for the good countries, The jury's out. I mean, you have to watch the Frightbite and get into the interminglings of the show and the characters and the backstory lines. I tried to provide something unique, It's like everybody's got a podcast. They're kind of stupid at this point. I mean, it's podcasts with the same people doing the junket, whether it's podcasts that have actors on it or podcasts that have music people on it. It's just they just they bounce from show to show at being asked the same questions, and the 2 people there, the 3 people there, the 4 people there, whatever it is. To me, it's like I can't even watch most of that stuff anymore. I got a little just burned out on it. I enjoyed it during the pandemic, I guess, when nothing was really going on, but now it's just played out in a lot of ways. Plus I'm busy too, doing my own thing. But with the Frightbite, I was like, man, how can I spoof this in a fun way that I would enjoy, that I could be creative? And I came up with the Fright Bite, and it's just kind of built from there. You know, I came up with a cool theme song for it, and pretty much have the right aesthetic. I mean, the Count's gone through some changes. Originally, he didn't have a wig, and you know, on the Chris Aiken Presents, right towards the end of my tenure on there, the Count appeared with the wig. And then when I fired up the show on YouTube, I call it the Hair Club for Vampires. But it's crazy how it changes the way you look. You know, I mean, I think a lot of people did not figure out that I'm the vampire on that show when I have the glasses on and I have the wig. They can't tell it's me, so they're not understanding what's going on, especially the Ratt fans. But the ones that do understand love it, and it's gotten to a point now where I kind of feel obligated to show up just to hang out with the fans of it. And you can see from the gifts they send, you know, these butt bongos, which, by the way, anybody wants some butt bongos, or you want some Ratt scream, you know, I got all that stuff. Bud, let's party. Cemetery Gates got Team Replay in the queue. Yeah, good stuff. You can always watch our shows. And if you missed the show and you're watching the replay on the live section, leave me a comment and I'll answer it. If there was something that you would have asked me here in the live chat, but you weren't able to be here, go ahead and leave me a comment on this video. And if it's a polite, if it's not a disrespectful comment to me, obviously I'll answer it and we'll still get to you. Yeah, we got Spicoli right here. He knows that Agent Skunk, dude. Hey, bud, let's party. Yeah.
I know that, dude. What are you people? On dope?
Fankoli is my dude. Yeah, I figured I know you've asked about Fankoli, Spicoli, and I thought I would just kind of let you know what happens to these villains that get locked up at the lab. And it was kind of a cool, you know, picture, I thought, of those guys. And that's AI I used for the back. I had to give him some real photos of those characters, but it did a cool thing. I'm just not all in on AI. Like, I have to have some of it be real. And so when it comes to like these werewolves and stuff, I had to actually get werewolf costumes for this, you know. And obviously Dahlia is not AI. She's a real lady. Yeah. Okay, is that my super carrot here tonight? Marsha B. Hello, all. Eric, do you have a favorite or standout performance with the Pearcy band? Hello, Charlie and Kylie. Do I have a standout? Yeah, man, that is a tough question. A standout performance. I wish I could answer that directly. I mean, in the time it would take me right now to reflect on all the shows we've done, everybody would probably tune out. I could say that I'm excited to make new memories. You know what I mean? I feel like we're just about getting to the peak of the Stephen Pearcy solo band. And I say that because the new album, Dog Mob, that we are just about to complete, I'd say, I mean, it's just little things we're finishing up, and then it's going into mix mode. I believe there's 13 songs, 12 or 13 songs on it. That's a pretty big undertaking. Most nostalgic artists don't even bother with it anymore, to be honest. They don't see the value in putting in the effort to why do I have that up there? They don't see the value in putting in the effort to make an album. And we don't feel that way, although it has been a minute since View to a Thrill. View to a Thrill came out in 2019, and here we are in 2026. I feel like everybody can automatically shave off a couple years with COVID and just all the drama in life and everything. But this whole time I have continued to give Steven music. And we do have a lot of songs. When it came time to do this record, when he was finally like, okay, I'm actually going to fund it and get this going, at that time was 40 songs given to him to work with. So we do have, like, if he does end up signing a deal for this, like some kind of 2 or 3 album deal, we have the songs and some really, really amazing music. It's like we couldn't even get to everything. We basically just went to the first 12 things that Steven was vibing on vocally. And then he and Matt did an amazing job getting the vocals together for this. I mean, I did an amazing job with the music, right? Writing it and arranging it. They didn't change too much stuff with my arrangements and everything, but Steven and I just have a cool working relationship like that, where we don't have to be together to make cool stuff. Like, I could come up with something musically and just go, I could hear him singing on it. You know what I mean? I could hear him being able to do something with it. And if I could do that, I send it to him, and sure enough, what he ends up coming up with is what I heard, which is super weird, right? Anywho, let me get back to the live peeps. Sorry, Marcia. You know what? I'll have to get back to you offline and tell you if I think of something. Jojo, Eric, what's up, my man? I'm just getting ready for shows. I got on the 31st here, if anybody's local in Southern California, I'm going to be playing with The Project, which is that other band I play in. That's got James Davis, Dennis Hill, Jeff Plant, Matt Riddle, Nathan Walker, and super cool, really great, rock songs, kind of with a punk rock edge. And we're playing the Tiki Bar, I guess, in Costa Mesa. So if you're, I don't know what, within an hour of that place, it's a Friday night. Let's hang out, y'all. Do I have any people that are down here in Southern California that watch my show? I'd be super stoked if you guys came. I don't even think they charge anything to get into that. But let's hang out. I might even drink with you. Who knows? I don't really drink much anymore, but I might celebrate a show with those guys. Yeah, Spicoli. Oh yeah, I already read that. Okay, what else we got? Jojo, right? But there's a diarrhea bug going around like crazy. I'd wash those veggies like they were covered in poo. Yeah, that's thank you for bringing that up. Steven today, he sends me like TikTok stuff. I don't have TikTok, but I don't know how else to describe it. I guess it's on Instagram that he's sending it to me because that's where the messages come from. But yeah, today it was a black dude explaining that people in San Diego should stay out of the water because Mexico had just dumped, I guess, in the last 24 hours. I'm going to get it wrong, the number. I'm totally paraphrasing or trying to remember from the video this morning, but it was like 20 billion tons of poop that ends up coming out in the Tijuana River and getting into the oceans and beaches here. And all that stuff kind of evaporates or gets into the air. And I was noticing, like, on my roof, where in the morning there'll be this moisture that accrues, and birds and pelicans, seagulls, ducks will come and drink from it or whatever. And then it'll turn into little pools, right, of water. And then by the afternoon they dry up. And I was noticing today that those little pools looked like dried up, like a dirty poop bowl from a public restroom or something like that. It looked like poo, circles of poo on the roof, which was interesting. Now I'm going to blow your guys' mind. You're going to think I'm making this up. This guy's worried about people swimming in the poo. A body washed up on the beach 2 days ago, yo. Yes, I'm talking about right out here. Literally right out here, a body just washed up onto the beach. And the interesting thing is nobody got out of the water. It's not like they closed the beach at any time. They literally just take these little blockers, these like view blockers that they like stick into the sand, and they just kind of put 4 of those around the body, and everybody's just playing in the water. This dead guy's been like floating around in that water for who knows how long. There's actually been close to 7 bodies that have washed up on various beaches going down from La Jolla coming north up to here. Now, I've heard different theories. Some people think that maybe it's a capsized boat of illegal immigrants, but I don't know who says that or if that's true or not, but that would potentially account for multiple bodies getting spread around. Sadly, this is a very, very sad bit of news, but a young Marine that was doing training missions right here off the coast apparently lost his life a couple of weeks ago. Now, that was the first person that came to mind because they said they know who it is. We know who it is, but we're not telling. So that to me does not sound like an illegal immigrant that capsized. I mean, I'm feeling like it's that Marine that fell overboard. I mean, they do, people die in the Army Reserves and in training in the Marines and the Army, Navy, Air Force. The only place that nobody dies would be Space Force. Space Force is the only division in the military that nobody dies because it's completely made up. Anyways, Spicoli, that's right, people. I'm the real Spicoli, son. Yeah, we got JC here tonight. How you doing, buddy? I'm doing better by the minute when I'm hanging out with all you guys. I think I don't even want to do a show, and then I get in here, and within about 5 minutes, I'm happy to be talking to you guys, and I'm good. Did Matt say he's going to do the show? I didn't even ask the guy. I know I said I was going to, and then I didn't. But I overthink a lot of things, and I thought about it, and I'm like, when would it be best to have these guys on the show? And I just felt like closer to the time we're promoting the record and stuff is when I'd probably do that. Plus, he's pretty busy. Like, he's not like me. He's not a guy that's getting stoned all day just thinking about shit. He's like, he actually does shit. He's like running a studio that's booked with clients all the time. He's married. He has a wife he has to hang out with. Not has to, loves to, enjoys to. Ramel's an amazing woman. But I'm saying, his time is whatever, so if I'm going to ask him to set aside his time in the 5 o'clock hour, right, I want to make sure it's for something special. So I didn't ask him yet. Excuse me. My bronchitis is acting up. Jay Krager, he wants to know how you guys are doing. R&R Star, are you playing Monsters on the Mountain in Gatlinburg next month? No. This is going to be for the unknown future, one of the last of 2 shows that Warren DeMartini and Stephen Pearcy are playing as the Pearcy DeMartini duo, which, as far as, I understood it when it first came up, which was last year. The M3 promoter actually got those guys together. He came up with a crazy number and got them to agree to play at this M3. And then they kind of parlayed that, but like, why don't we do like a Page Plant thing? If you guys are old enough, I'm sure you are, to remember when Robert Plant and Jimmy Page toured together. They obviously couldn't do a whole Zeppelin thing or whatever back then, but at that time I believe it was the late 80s, they did a Page Plant tour, which was super dope, but it was for like a year. It wasn't like they were going to be Page Plant for eternity. You know what I mean? They both do their own things and whatever. So anywho, where I'm getting at is this is probably going to be one of the last 2 shows you see those guys at for a while, as far as I know. So fly out there and go see it. It is a really rad event. I did get to do Monsters on the Mountain, I think in 2024, but we had a great time, and it's a really cool area. It's like Dolly Parton owns a big part of that area, I guess, over there. It's kind of Dollywood, I guess you would say. Yeah, Skylar's saying hit the like button for me, y'all. I appreciate it. I'm a struggling artist. No, actually on an artist scale, I should be very grateful, as I am, 25 years playing for Steven. I mean, there's so many people that had a little break at something for a while, or maybe they even had a band that we remember and love, but they have just couldn't survive. That classic lineup could not survive for 30 years or 40 years or 20 years. And I've somehow survived Pearcy Island, excuse me, and have managed to stay in his solo band for 25 years, which is truly amazing. I don't know if I would have traded that for like 10 years of more success and notoriety. And I mean, on some levels, it's like more money, more problems, right? I mean, when I think about anybody that's actually considered, a legendary guy, I mean, you're going to tell me that guy's not always paying for lawyers and like BS. Like, you get to a certain level and you got to shell out for that sort of stuff. You're always having to take legal action against your old buddies and bandmates and your, people ripping off your songs and this and that. I've kind of been spared of that. Steven's the actual multi-platinum guy who has to deal with all that kind of stuff. And aside from being his co-writer on his solo records, you know what I mean? There hasn't been much for me to deal with. And by the time I was doing, solo records for him, music wasn't worth what it used to be, with streaming and everything. Nowadays, selling 20,000 copies is like selling, 500,000 copies. I mean, it's an amazing feat to sell, 50,000, you'll be on Billboard magazine. It's like the bar has been like lowered as far as that goes, but money for music, it's just not really there. It's like most people know this, but most of the money for artists is playing live and selling merch at the shows. Like, as of right now, that's where the bulk of the money is. And for me, I get really well taken care of by Steven, but at the same time, there's been times where he's out playing with Ratt or he's out playing with Warren. These times where I'll be off the road, let's say, right, for pretty good amount of time. I mean, this year, I think I've only played, you guys might know, I probably like 6 shows maybe or something like that. In this year, 5 or 6 shows so far. That's not a lot, you know what I mean? So I'm not out partying or spending too much money. I have to spend some money on my equipment. I've kind of decided I want to take back the Charvel guitars for the next Pearcy shows. So I've been whipping out the Charvels and getting them into shape. I had to take the green monster guitar, the green machine. I had to take that Charvel to Guitar Center to Val, who I've talked about before. He's my tech. No, he's everybody's tech. If you live here in San Diego, if you're closer to the Escondido Guitar Center, Val is there, I think, at least 5 days out of the week. He's certainly there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And he's the dude that does any wiring work on guitars for me or has to fix something. Because if there's anybody that can butcher a guitar working on it, it's me. I'm like so bad at soldering in particular. So I would only trust him for that. He resurrected the old 1992 Les Paul Studio that you see me playing recently. That thing is so beat up, and he actually got the wiring good. I mean, I didn't even tell him to do some of the stuff. He was like, man, I didn't feel comfortable looking at some of those solder joints. I hit you again on there and got you. You're good. Like, he gave it the okay that he trusts that I'm going to take this guitar out for national shows and not have a problem. If Val gives you his okay, it's going to be good. And it was. The guitar hasn't failed me, but at the same time, that guitar is pretty used, you know what I mean? The frets are pretty worn, they're dented, and I'm like, shit, I just want to tighten up these Charvels again and give it another try and put on a real heavy metal show with Joel. He's got his going over there, his EVH, and he's got a Warren Charvel, which was pretty cool. But they're working good for him, and I think I'm going to do it too. I'm going to bring mine back out. So I was just in there. I had to go to Guitar Center the other day. Funny enough, when I mentioned Guitar Center a few weeks ago, the manager there had, I guess, been watching my show and heard me talking about it, and thanked me for mentioning the shop. And Val's like, "Hey, Erik, thanks." I didn't even think about it. They didn't tell me to, but I'm just tell you guys, if there's a place I trust or a amp company I trust or guitar company, of course, pass it on to you guys. But yeah, I was just in there. I got to pick that guitar up, I would imagine soon. But the pickup, I didn't even tell you why I brought it in. The Seymour Duncan pickup that came with it, the TB4 Trembucker, it lost all its balls. Like, I don't know what it was. Like, it's cool nowadays that, like, if you do have a problem, you can get on the internet and just type in, my pickup stopped working on my Trembucker and my Charvel, and then you'll see that some other dude had the same problem and posted it somewhere, and you can read about it. I mean, that's kind of neat. But a guy did have the same thing. His stopped working. When he took it out, he saw that it had corrosion in it, and that's obviously probably what it was. I think I used that guitar a lot in 2024 live. I don't even know if I was wearing wristbands yet at the time. The reason why I started wearing these is to kind of protect the pickups, because I do sweat on stage. You're rocking out wearing leather shit and whatever. You're running around, the sweat starts to drip down, and where does it go? It drips down off your hand and right into the pickups. And if you saw on there, they were like cruddy and kind of rusty looking. You're supposed to wipe down all that stuff every night, but there's times, man, you're playing in the South and it's like humid as hell, and you do what you can, but you're trying to get your shit out of there. And anyways, that pickup most likely was toast. So I had to buy a new Trembucker, and Val's putting it in right now. And I narrowed it down. I think I'm taking the green guy, and I'm taking this metallic purple Charvel that I have. Both those guitars have the ebony fretboards that I dig. I have two maple Charvels also, but these other two are just, I don't know, something about them, or they're just a little better. All those, they're the Mexican ones. They are really good guitars for the money. Secondhand, you could get one for probably $600 or $700 on the secondhand market. I think I paid like $1,000. I won't pay more than $1,000 for a guitar typically, because something will happen to it out there. I mean, not to say I won't ever invest. If I go up a notch money wise or whatever, I would see myself maybe getting a nice Les Paul, $3,000 or $5,000. And if you keep it at home and you have all the paperwork, that's actually a solid investment that will last over the decades or whatever. And it's a safe purchase. Anything else, any kind of foreign made guitar is never going to be worth much, but I wouldn't take like some Les Paul like that out on the road. There's no way I'm going to trust the baggage handlers with that. Or, I mean, you could take your guitar on board, but there's going to be one of these days that they're just jerks and make you gate check it or something. It. We've got more Motley stuff. So Macaulay's saying, leave Vince alone, dude. He's a rock legend. Yeah. And I mean, the dude had a stroke earlier this year. I mean, he's out there. You're hearing his voice. He's doing the best he can, but I think with those situations too, you can improve. I mean, he's out playing in the same year he's had a stroke. So to be out that fast, says something. I sympathize. I mean, when I had a heart attack, I was so scared of losing my gig. I was back on stage within less than 2 weeks, where I probably should have been home recovering. You know what I mean? But you just don't want to let people down. And if there's business, and shows on the books or whatever, mostly just not wanting to lose my gig. But I was like, man, I got out there. Now, was I perfectly ready to play? No, I was actually like a little scared, to be honest. You know what I mean? All of a sudden I have these stents in my heart, and like they're fresh, and it hurt a little bit. My heart hadn't adjusted to them. And I was a little nervous to be like running around, if I could be honest about it. But then after a couple shows, I started to like realize I was going to be okay. And now I'm full throttle. Susie's here, everybody. Well said. We talking about Motley, Susie? Did I miss anything from you? I don't think I missed any of your thing. Let me keep going here. Yeah, so if you're just getting here, I'm gonna take a sip of coffee. If you're just getting here, we could talk about anything that you want to. This is a live AMA. I do them every Wednesday. We could talk about hot rock topics. We could talk about world events. We could talk about history. We could talk about the future. We could talk about relationships. We could talk about bad things that are happening in your life. I don't like to do too much of that because it bums everybody out. Um, if you have good stuff going on in your life, that's worth sharing too, but I'll riff on anything. You know what I mean? I'm part comedian also, if you couldn't tell. I'm not always serious. Zachary, someone deleted your comment. I have no moderators here tonight, so I did not. I do have some kind of strict moderation on the settings, so sometimes some words might trigger that. But again, there's some people's names that I haven't want brought up before on my show where I put that in there, but I still see people saying the name in here, so I don't know if that's why it's possible. Chubby Sticks, good to see you. Cheers, good to see you too. It's nice to see you guys. And I've told you too. I mean, put a picture of yourself in your thumb so I can get to know you if I see you in person. Otherwise, it's gonna be weird. I'm gonna be like, oh, like what I look like. John Evans, I'm an old man. I still say reefer. Well, we got a lot of Canadian viewers here. They call them a hoot. They're hoots or hooters, which is kind of cool. I like that. We got donator of the butt bongos. We call it Mighty Foo-Foo. That's cool. Foo-Foo, that's also for like cologne, right? I mean, I've heard of cologne being called Foo-Foo. David Carrasco, he's sorry he missed the fright bite last night. He hope everyone is well. Hi, Sky. Yeah, Dave. It was a fun show last night. I kicked it off with a little Tom Petty. I butchered Breakdown by Tom Petty. I kind of switched the lyrics around. The count called it Fright Bite and changed some of the words. Talked about biting people and laser eyes and stuff. And he just kind of went for it at the beginning of the show. Whatever. It was okay. It was fun. I mean, it is a comedy show, so no matter how bad the count performs a song, it doesn't matter. What else? We got a call from Dr. Von Brainscan, and Agent Skunk was with him at the lab, so that was kind of cool. Those guys called in to the show, and we got to talk to them. I want Agent Skunk to be, I think I started talking about this earlier, but kind of the third man on the team. It's like last night we were talking about, it's like Charlie's Angels, it's like the Charlie's Angels show, except we only have one female on our team, Dahlia, but then it would be Count Cracula, and then it would be Agent Skunk, and those three will be going on missions together. And in a sense, it kind of, in my mind, I'm thinking also that Agent Skunk's also part handler for the Count and Dahlia to kind of make sure the operations run smoothly, because the Count's kind of a wild card, and so is Dahlia. Dahlia's kind of punk rock, and you don't know what's going to happen. Looks like Spicoli, dude. He's throwing in some for the weed fund, son. Now, whatever you guys give me money for, I promise I will put it towards that. When Marcia puts in funds for tuna for Kylie and Charlie Cat, that money goes to tuna. When people want it to go into the blood bank, it goes into the blood bank. When Spicoli wants it to go to the weed fund, it goes directly to the weed fund. That I can promise you, there's no shenanigans like in politics. Okay, that your money goes exactly where you tell me to put it. Interesting. John Evans. Siobhan looked amazing last night. Yowza. Yeah, Siobhan O'Rain is the correspondent for Boo TV Weather. She's our weather correspondent in Northern Ireland. And she's a big hit. You know, people like to see her different outfits every week. I know it's weird on a Fright Bite, but anything goes on the Fright Bite. It's just a weirdo hour. Good shot, Jansen. Fright Bite is tons of fun. Yeah, listen to these people. I mean, I've made mention of it before that, you know, these hangouts, I never have a plan. I never have a plan for these hangouts. I mean, they're easy for me to do. I just turn on the camera and kind of go off of what you guys tell me and stuff. But the Fright Bite takes like days of work and stuff. And it's weird how such a smaller percentage of people, like, it's almost like they're scared of it or something. They don't know what it is or why they're seeing it on their thing, but it's just a wacky, fun escape from the real world. And it's like an hour-long show we do on Tuesday nights. Me and Dahlia Dark host it, and then we have all the characters that we play on the show that we interact with. And just like this show, you could be a part of the Fright Bite. If you're actually there, you can get in and we read your comments and stuff like that, which is a lot of fun. Ooh, what else is going on? Johnny Ponder, late to the party, but I'm here, bro. I'm hoping Joel's with you guys next year so I can finally see the solo band. Yeah, I mean, Joel has every intention of continuing to play with the band. Blas Elias and Joel both play in TSO, the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and Blas is on the West Coast version, and Joel is on the East Coast version. So right at the end of October through December, those guys are out touring with that band. And typically we have Jimmy Deanda that comes in on drums there. And some of you saw Logan Stoliker. He played one of the first shows I did this year back with the band. He was the other guitarist. He kind of has this young Warren vibe to him. He's a 25-year-old kid who can play all the Warren noodles, and he's really great on stage. He's in Nashville. He lives in Nashville, and he's just always working on his playing and he gigs like literally probably 7 nights a week, which is hardcore. Like, that's a young dude's game for sure. But I think, yeah, him and Jimmy come in November, December, but the other 10 months of the year, obviously Blas and then Joel will be on guitar. Matt's doing all the shows on bass. All good stuff. Marsha. Stoney's saying, hey. Willie Wayne, good evening, Eric. Joel is on the new Accept album. That's cool. Johnny, Dog Mob will be my first new music purchase in years. Well, I appreciate that, sir. I'm sure we'll do some cool vinyl thing too, but the album is super good. I mean, I know you guys have heard some snippets of a few things. The first thing I heard him do, I don't think he's putting on the album, was like a song that he did, I think, since he kind of released it, I Need You or something like that. I think since he already put that out, he's not putting it on the record, I think. But he's put a few other snippets. Recently, he put a song called Godspeed 45, and that's a super heavy song. Like, that's our Painkiller Judas Priest level heavy song, and say definitely the heaviest song on the record. And he did put like the solo section and kind of tail end. That song hasn't even been mixed yet. I think Matt's mixing it like this week, so he was just doing a little teaser thing on that, but it got a great response. Everybody's like, whoa, they were just surprised. They're like, what is that, Megadeth? Which is funny. Sometimes Steven and Dave Mustaine do sound similar. I think when whenever I hear Steven singing in a lower register, it sounds kind of like Dave Mustaine. There's a similarity there. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not, but when we do heavy stuff, especially, I notice it more. But there's plenty of like rock songs on there. I already know what the single's going to be. The song's going to be called On the Edge. And I know Steven sent it to Fred Curry from Cinderella and Arcade and stuff, and Fred flipped out when he heard it. He was like, "Oh my god!" He's like, "This is what I would have imagined Ratt to sound like if they had stayed together all these years." And like we're putting out an album right now, and to me, I mean, he's a music producer himself, so, and obviously Cinderella, legendary band. So when I get a compliment, not that he gave the compliment to me, he gave it to Steven, you know what I mean? But hearing that from Steven that he had said that, I was like, wow, that's super cool. And, you know, I've just been thinking about how the video should be and things like that. And I'm so excited for you guys to hear it. I know I sound like I'm just, you know, whatever, but it's a trip to like that I can hear it and listen to it and you guys can't. Sucks. And that I know it's going to be late in the year, if not early next year before you do, but it's going to be totally worth the wait. Jojo saying View to a Thrill is a banger. Thank you. Worked really hard on View to a Thrill. You know, we had the deal with Frontiers at the time. Smash was the first one we put out in 2015, 16, 20. No, it came out in, what am I saying? Smash came out like 2017, I believe. And after that had been out, we knew we had like a 2 or 3 record deal. And even though we had all the time in the world to get Smash, that was kind of made up of demos that went back 15 years, some of the songs that were on there. But when it came time to do View to a Thrill, it was like we had to do all new ideas. And so I felt like there was a kind of a pressure on me to do that. And Chris Hagar did contribute one of the songs on there. I Know I'm Crazy, which is kind of the first song on there, was a Chris Hagar composition, if you will. I redid the guitars on it, and obviously write my solos and stuff that go on there. But aside from that track, I had composed all the other songs on the record. At this time, Steven had just won the Ratt name in court with One, and this was 2019. So around the time that we would have gone out and promoted the album and done a video or any of that stuff, he was like, woohoo. For him, he was like, he won the lottery. He was like, cha-ching, woohoo. And he took off with Juan, and they started to do their deal. And he was having a little too much fun, as we remember. I won't go into all that. And sadly, though, COVID hit, right? And that was the end of that. And then when it came 2021, when, you know, the gates started to open up again, those guys started having their issues, and it was time to fire up the solo band again, which is usually what happens in those situations. So what am I getting at? Like, man, that record, for all the work that I put into it, didn't get much promotion. But on the other side of it, I know Steven intends to re-release a lot of these solo albums now that he is regaining ownership of them. Typically when he makes a record deal, it's like a close-ended contract he does for like a 5-year thing, where the label will have like 5 years to do whatever they want with the record. And then after that, it reverts back to him, and then he could do special box sets and different things. So I know he's told me that he intends to release those. So hey, that might be a good payday for me coming up, if it's some box set that's got, you know, a special edition of Smash and View to a Thrill and Dog Mob on there, right? That could be good. I could use a good payday, believe me. But right now the payday is going to be whatever you call it, delayed gratification, but it's okay. I know it's going to be all right. These kind of hopeful things just keep me in a pleasant mood, knowing that eventually, you know, I'll get my due that way, as far as being a contributor to kick-ass rock music, 80s rock stuff. And I know everybody wants it so badly. You know what I mean? They miss it. Today's music sucks. We know it. It's just so not contrived, it's just too computerized, and everything sounds the same. Everybody's using the same plugins. Everybody's using the same drum sounds, the same guitar sounds, and it just all sounds the same to me. It's rare that I start to like a new band. I mean, the last band that I was amused by and thought was good was Emil and the Sniffers. It was like the last band that I was entertaining to me, and I was playing some of their songs on repeat and stuff. But even now, after that, after about a month or so, I was like, I just kind of moved on. I don't know if I'm going to be playing that on repeat 40 years from now, like some of these 80s bands have lasted. But it's its own thing. It's its own thing. Can't wait to rock with you in Ridgefield, Connecticut next month. Save me a spot. Yes, I am super excited about it too. Getting my outfits together, getting my noodle chops rehearsed for the show, making sure I remember how the songs go. And no, I'm just kidding. Good Shots saying they've been dumping the Tijuana River for years, polluting the U.S. Yeah. Agreed. I could see it when I walk out onto the beach, like when it's bad. It literally looks like diarrhea out there. It's like there's like a foaminess to it, and it's brown. It's not like when you're looking at the Caribbean and you could see the sand when you're wading out in the neck deep water or whatever. This starts getting dark and gross looking. I've always just kind of beach combed and like at the most been in flip flops and maybe the water like go over my foot. And that's if I know for sure I have no like open cuts or anything. I mean, I got to watch out. Like I've told this before, but I have a tortie cat and she will totally like attack me and bite my back of my calves, or she'll attack me for attention and stuff. And I was looking at the back of my calf. It's pretty chewed up. So I'd be like hesitant to like have any of that poop water get in there, Spicoli wants to smoke out with Pearcy. Well, that is a possibility, man. That is not the hardest thing to do. NFL, rock music. How do you know when and why to tune a half step or a full step? How do you know when and how do you know? Am I reading that wrong? Anyways, there's different reasons for tuning a certain way. There's a lot of bands that just base their whole sound on such a thing. Many of them use 7-string guitars, which allows them to operate in a very low register, typically lower than a tune down to B. Motley Crue was one of our generation's bands that, like on Shout at the Devil, they were tuned a whole step down, which sounds pretty badass, but you can still keep some pop sensibility, with it. Anything past there starts to become serious, metal or death metal or screamo stuff. Guitars can also use a baritone guitar that is 6 strings, but then has that low B, and then what used to be an A is the 5th string, then becomes the E, and so you're in a lower register, but just using 6 strings. On regular guitars, you can definitely go down a half step to a whole step with those. Sometimes it's because the singer can't, if the singer's having trouble performing the song at standard tuning, if it was written in standard, bands will go down a half step. Sometimes they'll go down a whole step. I've noticed like Don Dokken, it sounds to me when I hear Dokken playing, they seem to be like a whole step down from the standard that they were back in the 80s. The songs sound heavy that way, but it starts to affect the notes of the melody of the song. I noticed if it's something we're used to hearing the album versions that were normal, when these guys start to tune down, it sounds a little weird. But there's intentionally, doing it, knowing you want to go make low, heavy music. And then there's doing it later to accommodate singers usually. So it just depends on your situation. Like, are you going for a certain sound, or are you trying to help the singer's sound be able to pull it off better live? Russell Lendez, what music genre are you into that your fans would be surprised you are into? I would probably say just old time music, like stuff like my dad probably would have listened to when he was in high school or something like that. And maybe it's because as a small child, I, even before I can remember, heard him listening to those bands, whether, you know, Creedence Clearwater Revival. I'm just throwing that out there. The Rolling Stones, whatever. I mean, just that I go back probably to the 50s, you know, with like listening to, I can listen to that stuff, music from the 60s, the 70s. A lot of people label that as like yacht rock things, but I enjoy all of that. You know, it hits different now as a 53-year-old hearing a lot of those songs. They take on new meaning, but they still hold a certain place in your brain somewhere and kind of unlock memories and things from your life. And they just don't make music, you know, like that anymore. And it's interesting to even study it in some capacity. But I don't know, would that surprise you guys, or is that something you all do too? I don't know. That's about it. It's not like I'm like, yeah, yo, I'm at Insane Clown Posse concerts. Frank's here, yo. Hi, Eric. I'm Frank. Russell says Eric rules. Well, not everybody thinks so. Who do I think is going to sing for Quiet Riot? That is a great question. Who do you guys think? Sorry, I need like a commercial to hit for my live shows, man. I just start getting dry mouth. Anyways, today there was a video going on. Did you guys see the kid? He was kind of a heavier kid that looked pretty young. I'd say, shit, he looked like he was in his early 20s, and he looked like kids I remember looking like in the 80s, in the mid 80s. He had like the jeans jacket on and the heavy metal t-shirt. I mean, he looked straight out of Stranger Things or an actual dude from 1985. And he was singing Metal Health. No, he was singing Come On Feel the Noise. He was singing Come On Feel the Noise, and he did it pretty good. I think I saw because Johnny Martin was super excited about it from LA Guns. And so he had hashtagged a bunch of stuff and hashtag Quiet Riot. It's almost as if he was like, here's your guy right here. And he might be right. I mean, certainly the dude had the tonality and it sounded like he had the range, but there is so much more to it than that. I also saw, I don't know if you guys saw too, if you're fans of Jizzy Pearl, on his Facebook today, he shared one of his Jizzy YouTube. If you haven't subscribed to Jizzy's YouTube, it's great. He has super cool insights on the music business and his career and stuff going on in the gossip world of music. And like a year ago, he had made a video about Skid Row. And because at the time they were looking for people because Lizzie Hale wasn't going to be able to continue. She was going to go obviously keep playing with Hailstorm, her band. And she was just doing this for fun as a fan with them. And so they were still going to need to find another singer. And so many people sorry, I was told I have to bounce somebody and I haven't got to them yet. Yeah, I got you. You don't have to send me the thing. You don't have to send me the thing. It's too distracting. I'll just. Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Sorry, I got lost. I know we're talking about Quiet Riot, right? Oh yeah, Jizzy. Okay, Jizzy is talking about what it takes to front a band. And he's so spot on. Like I went to like it. I go, oh, I already liked this video. I had actually seen it like a year ago. And he had some great points that it's not just being able to record a demo of the song and singing at home. Like I'm pretty sure the dude that's in this video I was just talking about, I'm pretty sure he recorded the song and then did one of those TikTok videos where he puts the phone and he plays the track and then stands in front of the microphone and acts like he's actually singing it right there for you. But it was actually like a perfectly mixed demo of him singing Come On Feel the Noise. And that's great that you have the ability to take a good to do a recording where you have the tonality, because that's going to come into play. You know, if you get into a band and they got to record a record, if they want their singer to sound like a carbon copy, right, they may not want to. Alice in Chains didn't get a guy that sounds exactly like Lane. There was way more closer dudes that sang in Alice in Chains cover bands that they could have gotten, but they got the dude they got because he had his own. It sounded like they wanted somebody that could harmonize with them but had their own voice, right? So it's not guaranteed. But if the band's pretty much just a live band at this point, yeah, they're going to want a guy who could like nail it as close as possible. But there's just people that think they can pull it off, and they probably can't in some of these situations. Jizzy's example was Skid Row, and he's so not wrong. Like, Sebastian Bach has an amazing range, and he still pretty much has it. You know, I mean, he's older, so I mean, you know, he has to like kind of drop out here and there on some stuff. But for the most part, he's hitting these big notes. And Jizzy referenced Monkey Business because that's another one. Like in the beginning, you know, you got to like do these big screams in the beginning. And sure, maybe on your good day when you're rested, you could probably pull that off, right? But in reality, when you're touring on this circuit, sleep is not something you get. And for a singer, sleep is the biggest enemy when you don't get it. And I'll give you a perfect example. Like the last 2 shows I went out on was a 4-day run, maybe 5. I think in the whole 4 days, I slept 4 hours in 4 days. This was the night that all the flights got canceled, and we had to like do all this crazy stuff to even get out to the show, taking red eye flights and everything. So by the time, you know, I get into town, and we got to be at sound check in an hour or 2, there was no sleep. So it's like, shit, when you thought this was going to be an easy, smooth thing, I had a direct flight, everything was going to be fine. All of a sudden your flight's canceled and everything goes to shit. That's also part of the life that people don't realize and don't think about. But you know, you have to be a professional enough guy that even with no sleep, you could pull it off. And that really lessens the pool. You know, there isn't anybody who would argue about Jizzy in Quiet Riot. Like, he did a really great job with the band. I can say that because I mean, we've played so many shows with them over the last decade, being on the same big time entertainment roster. And I've never heard him have a bad show. He is always 100% consistent. And not only that, he just from his 40 years of being out there fronting bands, and he's always had this, like going back to Love Hate, he definitely had stage charisma enough so to get them signed, you know, when he was a very young guy. And he still has that presence today on stage. I almost want to say like a Ronnie James Dio kind of, but I don't want to compare them. He would be Ronnie James Dio, better looking older brother, right? Younger brother. No, but just his vibe on stage, he just commands your attention on stage and he sells it. You know, I've seen Quiet Riot have a bunch of different singers like before that. And it's not that any of them were bad singers as singers, generally speaking, but it was a weird fit for me personally. I'm allowed to have my own opinions of things. And since that's in the past, I don't think I would have said anything about it at the time, but you know, just looking back historically, you know, they did the best they could do with who they had at the time to step out there. Some of the guys were better than others, but maybe lacked in certain areas. Maybe they looked older, you know, saying like it, but looked older. Maybe they looked younger, but didn't sound exactly like it. Jizzy like kind of checked all the boxes, and they didn't do a Quiet Riot record with him, right? I mean, they could have. I feel like they could have had a contender if they had tried to do a Quiet Riot record with Jizzy. They probably could have pulled it off. As of this moment, I personally can't think of anyone. However, I know with the internet hive mind and whatever, people just put it out there. They could potentially find somebody that checks all the boxes, a younger, strong singer that can pull off all that stuff and has great stage presence, and is the band can work with them, and he's not an egomaniac. He's not a bummer to be around. All these things can affect it, you know. And singers generally, I mean, they call it LSD, lead singer disease, for a reason. You know what I mean? Typically, the singer's the most demanding person out of the band in most cases, unless it's a band where one, like, I don't know, the guitar player maybe actually started the whole thing and hired everybody, and maybe he's the guy who acts that way. I don't know. But singers have a reputation for that, generally speaking. I think we can all kind of agree. I mean, drummers can be real dicks too. We know that. Not to say there aren't cool lead singers out there that are easygoing. They do exist. But I don't know, something about rock singers, especially rock and pop singers, they can get a diva, thing going with that. Spicoli thinks that Quiet Riot needs to get Blando, dude. He's the man. I mean, you spelled Blano on there. Book him, Blano. But I think you meant Blando. Yeah, I don't think Blando would do that. I mean, Blando's got such a cool thing going with Slaughter and Dana and Mark that I don't think he would do that. And he does his hometown gigs, Blandini, which is killer too. It blows my mind that like Blando can play Still of the Night as good as John Sykes on guitar and sing it as good as David Coverdale. Does blow my mind. He's always done that, and it's always been impressive to me. I always known he's a monster, that little dude. Anyways, Frank's saying, any plans of coming back to Wolf's Den or Mohegan Sun? Man, if we were on Big Time Entertainment, I would say for sure we'd be back at Mohegan Sun. But right now, I think Steven's booking the solo band through IAG, which I don't know exactly what's going on with that. Like I said, Steven's got his own, legal stuff going on with the Ratt name, trying to secure that so we could tour with it and stuff like that. So we're just kind of waiting to see how that goes. We got Christianity in the house, y'all.
Yeah, pretty princess.
Good to have you here for second night, Christianity. Her and Gary won a mystery box last night on the Fright Bite Wheel of Misfortune. And we had another winner too. I'm trying to remember. I will remember. I'll remember who the other winner. I have to mail that stuff out this week, and it will get out to you guys. Good shot saying, Eric, you are exactly right about that heart stuff. I know. Yeah, most people probably have some kind of heart disease or something by that age. Like, that was when I first started seeing people just die out of nowhere. Like, really? That guy? It's when you get to be 40 or 50 years old. If you haven't been checked out, you might not realize that you have what's called like a widowmaker situation going on in your heart, where if you don't get it, that blockage, you'll just, potentially stroke out and die or whatever. I got kind of lucky. It wasn't like the movie Heart Attack where it's like, oh, Elizabeth, I'm coming. It wasn't like that. I was just like, I can't catch my breath. I'm like, it's weird. Maybe I need to sit down. I just felt like exerted, if anything. And, through the whole operation itself, I was wide awake for it. This is going to sound gnarly, but they had it like, my veins aren't that great to work with. And normally they would go through your wrist, apparently, to go get in there. And they had to go through my groin, which wasn't my nuts, but it was like, it's kind of like the top of your thigh area. They go through there's a big vein in there, and they go in with the, whatever, get up. He showed me on the thing, like they're looking at your heart on there, and I'm still in my stage clothes pretty much from the show that we did. And he's showing me, he's going, do you see that vein there, and you could see my heart, you could see this huge vein, and there's like blood going till just about when it gets to the heart, and then there's nothing going after. He's like, yeah, that's supposed to still be going. They're almost like looking at me like, are you a vampire, dude? Because you shouldn't even be like alive right now. Anyways, we're gonna take you into surgery like right now, and like it was just weird, man. I thought I was just suffering from like dehydration or something. I wasn't expecting to, within an hour of getting off stage to be going into heart surgery. That was like completely unexpected. This is actually the anniversary of that. That happened July 15th, 2002. So we're 4 years in, and so far so good. This is probably the best shape I've been in since then. I've been working out. I lost over 25 pounds. A memory came up from that show where like earlier in the day at sound check, I had done like a selfie, and you could see that I was fatter. You could see that I was probably pushing like 200. I just had like my head looked just like a basketball or whatever. And yeah, I was going to be close to death later that night. But just through, changing a couple of habits and stuff and starting to exercise, I'm in good health. So I intend to be around for a good while. And it's a more hereditary thing. Both my parents have the same thing. Like when they were 50 years old, they were getting stents put in. They have heart disease too. And my mom's going to be 80 years old. So with medical science where it is today, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't get to the same age as my mom, unless I was in something different, a car accident or something like that. I should be around. Spicoli says, have I ever seen the movie True Romance? Yeah, I love the movie True Romance. Gary Oldman's plays a drug dealer. He did a really great job in that. And let's see, Patricia, what's her face is in it. She was cool. That's one of his better movies, I thought. It's a great movie. Christiani's saying, hey, Eric and all, we're so excited for our Fright Bite mystery box. Yeah, I got to do a special one for you guys. And when they choose mystery box on the Fright Bite, I typically will go through my 25 years of Ratt stuff I got sitting around, or, not Ratt, but Stephen Pearcy tour stuff and CDs and whatever. And I try to put something like that and then something spooky and maybe some stickers or whatever I have around. But nobody gets the same mystery box. I mean, if they win a poster, they get the poster. And if they win a t-shirt, they get the t-shirt. But if they've already won those items, you can opt for a mystery box. And that's when I'll put something unique together. Zachary's saying, that must be what happened with my missing questions. I asked to deal with JG causing the Pearcy DeMartini shows to stop. You mentioned it last week, so I figured it was okay to ask about it. Okay, yeah, that's probably what it was. Yeah, that's yeah, I mean, I could give like a broad little thing on it. But I think before I do that, I would have to give, just for context, I would have to give a little background, because like a little history reminder to people before I go forward with any aspects of it I mention. And I would say around 2003 was when Warren and Bobby, those two and Steven were WBS, which was Warren, Bobby, Steven. They had a corporation at the time, Warren, Bobby, Steven, and they ran Ratt. And in 2003, things came to a head when all the lawsuit happened, and Warren and Bobby decided they were going to fire Steven. And so this is right when I had joined the band. I had been in the band for like a year, and then all this, or like a year and a half, and then all this terrible stuff happened. Like first Robin Crosby died, which was very, traumatic for Steven, and he was partying a lot at this time, and that had a little bit to do with probably his firing from Ratt. So it was just a bad timing. It was a bad time for everybody, not to go off off the trail here, but that early 2000s, not a good time to be like out doing the 80s rock stuff, to be honest. We were probably like making the least amount of money and playing some of the smallest places ever at the time. But anyways, that firing went down, and for the next 20 years, Steven would be relegated to being a hired guy in Ratt. And this was the band that he started. I mean, there was guys in Ratt before the classic lineup. Of course, I'm the same type of person that I consider the classic lineup that sells the millions of records to be the one that people recognize. But believe it or not, even Matt Thorne was in the band before Juan Crociere, and going back to Mickey Ratt. So the whole concept of Ratt, the first songs, some of which were written with Jakey Lee, some written with Matt Thorne. Matt Thorne helped write back for more. Wanted Man, so stuff like that were kind of already around before some of these guys even joined the band, but not to take away from the amazing talent that Warren was at that time, being so young. But at the same time, as we know, when you're 17 years old, 18 years old, you're probably not the one calling the shots, right? At that time coming in, but you're definitely the one throwing the shreddies on the solos and coming up with some of the riffs and stuff. And as Ratt grew over the decade, Warren contributed more and more, and then gave us some of the best riffs ever, Lay It Down, and cool songs like That Way Cool Jr., and so forth. But what picture am I painting here? Just to remember that is a long 20 years is a long time to not have the ownership in the company you started. So you can imagine, when it comes to this kind of stuff, all our fandom aside, these guys as being their own tumultuous relationship and business scufflings they've had over the years, they have their own like drama with that's gone on, and for all these decades, you can imagine there's a lot of like animosities that could build up. And it's not just with Ratt, you know what I mean? This goes to a lot of bands. I was reading about Heart, the band Heart, today, and like what kind of happened, the story with that band, and it's a lot of goofy stuff with them too in the beginning, with the original iconic lineup. But moving forward, as we know, in the last couple of years, Steven ended up well, actually, Bobby, and that's something that Jason had to do with too. I mean, Jason's ruined multiple relationships with Ratt. I mean, the first guy that he sacrificed in the band was Bobby. We all know that. We all know that he definitely committed fraud with Bobby, and basically just stole the name, went out, played all these concerts, and then after he had been in the band for 2.5 years and it started to fall apart because Josh Allen quit and some of the other guys quit, and the charade was over, that's when Jason finally left and played the victim and acted like Bobby was this terrible guy that was holding Jason at gunpoint for 2.5 years while they ripped the Ratt name off. But that's what ended up getting back into court, Jason taking Bobby out and doing that. And Jason ended up turning snitch bitch on Bobby and handed over whatever evidence, probably to protect himself too. But he handed that over, and in some kind of weird gangster fashion, Steven, not in the best, with maybe the best intentions, but not probably the best idea, gave Jason a job with us, kind of as poetic justice of sorts, not realizing who Jason was. He really didn't know. He just knew that he had handed him over something. But that's kind of how Jason works. He likes to hand people something as a favor, and then kind of you're indentured to him over it, for a lot of things. But as Jason worked with us over the next 4 years, he would exploit the band more and more, and it's so many things on so many levels that it's going to take a lot of Unleashed Wednesday nights for me to actually get all the dirty details out of there. But more so in light of the last year and a half, he was touting himself as not just a tour manager, but as a manager to Steven and the Warren DeMartini thing. Like, he was upping himself as the guy controlling everything, if you will, which wasn't really true. I would say he was acting more as Steven's assistant, as in most cases. But as you can imagine, as he says, he's working as Steven's manager or whatever. So business manager to artists, they're going to have their text messages and stuff back and forth to each other. Now, one thing Jason's really good at is getting you riled up. He likes to he's a narcissist, a malignant narcissist, but he likes to gaslight, and he likes to play mental games and see if you pick up what he's, saying and so forth. But I think he had sent Steven at times some text on a business level that would have irritated Steven, where he might write something back about the person that Jason's talking about, which in this case, I'll just say could have been Warren, right? A business thing. Well, he'll never be back in the band, or, the corporation, or something like that, right? Which out of context might seem whatever, but these types of texts, right? Jason took all those. He took whatever text messages that he thought would upset Warren, like anything. And now he was already blocked from Warren's phone because he's a pedophile. Jason's a pedophile, and he was fired for a lot of other things that kind of came out after. But after all this, Warren was like, "Oh my God!" Of course he didn't want anything to do with Jason. To Jason's dismay, because let me tell you, Jason was getting ready to exploit the fuck out of Warren DeMartini, and I actually gained even more respect for Warren that he never went along with that. I mean, the fans were bummed that Warren wasn't doing the big meet and greets, but you better believe your boy Jason was getting ready to just take a percentage of Warren's meet and greets. He was getting ready to do some dirty shit. He wanted Warren to come to a hotel room, and he wanted to whore him out to people paying for guitars signed, whatever. He had all these plans. He was getting so excited for that, and he started getting frustrated when Warren wasn't doing those meet and greets, and he started actually talking about it on his show. I have recordings of him where he's like, "Shame on Warren, or this could have been the biggest thing ever." He was so mad when Warren did an interview with Eddie Trunk instead of him. He flipped out, and he badmouthed Warren so bad. He was so out of control in the last maybe couple of months before, I would say right around the time I started my channel, which was really to troll him in a lot of ways, because he and I have been enemies since pretty much the beginning. I mean, if you've seen Sylvester Stallone in Rambo, the movie Rambo First Blood, the whole title of the movie is based on the fact that the guys that he fucks up definitely started the fight. They drew first blood. And when it comes to Jason, you have to know that he had wanted to get rid of me from day one. He wanted to have his controlled Vegas people in there so he could control the band from every angle. He knew he did not like that I was Steven's buddy since childhood. He didn't like the friendship that Steven and I had. He didn't like that we had a songwriting history together. He was jealous of all those things. And he also considered those things to be a threat to him and his threat of control over the band as a whole. So very quick into it, he was effing with me and causing problems for me. Not to mention complaining every show that I was out on, him and Johnny Monaco would complain constantly in an effort to get rid of me or make Johnny the star of the band. They had this whole thing, and it was a plan that was in place from the very beginning. We actually had Jerry Montoya in the band right after COVID when we first came out, and that was the first guy that they got rid of. And I remember Jerry telling me, he's like, "Man, they're going to get rid of you too. They have all these plans. They said they're getting rid of everybody, and they're going to build a band around the star of the show, Johnny Monaco," which is a fucking joke, But I remember at that time, I had said to Steven, I'm like, "Do you understand what these guys' plans are apparently?" And he was like, he's like, "Don't listen to them." He's like, "They just don't know how close we are." And I was like, "Okay, well, that's fucked up, but okay." And he was starting to do a lot of things, but, you know, booking me on 3 flights. And this is after my heart attack. You know what I mean? He was booking me on 3 flights to get places and, you know, things I would never be able to make, you know, getting stranded in New York and things like that. And that's when I told him, I go, you better not think you're going to fuck with me, that you're going to continue to do this, because it'll be you taking 3 flights, motherfucker. Believe me. Like I basically was saying so many words. You will be the one that gets fucked here at the end of the day. But when it all came down, when I was finally able to like point out all the illegal shit he was doing with this band and exploiting us, and actually point out to the guys how much money this guy was making off his YouTube, off the tour diaries, that he never had our permission as far as signing a release form, which is important when you're making monetized content with Steven anyway, who has, you know, ownership of his trademark, his name and license and things like that. You got to be careful with that sort of thing. And then if you have somebody that you're filming on the show and all of a sudden they have a problem, that could jeopardize your whole show, right? And I was that problem, because I'd figured out pretty quick into those tour diaries that he was purposely making me look bad to elevate Johnny. And I told him, I don't want to be on your show anymore. And I've been accused of being jealous. I've been accused of having thin skin, and none of that's true. I was never jealous of those guys. I'm definitely, absolutely not jealous of Johnny in any way, shape, or form. I'm not a fan of his music. I'm not a fan of his playing, his tone. I'm not a fan of him as a person. I'm not a fan of what he looks like. I'm not a fan of anything. So I have nothing to be jealous of in that capacity. I thought he was extremely arrogant and disrespectful to come walking into the band and think, and he has that attitude with he thinks he's 10 times better than every guitar player in the world. And it's a weird ego maniac, you know, thing. He should have never been brought in. If Jason had the control to bring in whoever he wanted, he should have probably brought in a guitar player from the Raiding the Rock Vault, or something like that. Would have been more sensible, but he chose to steer it in a way that he would have his asset in there. So then it became 2 against me, right? Instead of being able to keep Jason in his fucking lane, I now had Jason. He reminds me of Jabba the Hutt, and you know, Jabba the Hutt had his little, you know, his little monster guy that it was on the leash. Like that was his little Johnny that could just say whatever he wanted on his show and just trash me. And honestly, it got to the point of, you know, they weaponized their audience. They built this audience off the tour diaries and then later location videos. However, they were double dipping. He was supposed to be working for our band, and he was leaving to go film other locations and make money off it. And that's called double dipping. That's the same as if you were being paid to be at an office job, but you're actually doing IT for another company while you're there on the company computer, and you know, making equal salary or more, without the knowledge or consent for such monies to be made on the boss's dime. But you know, he's really good at we know he's good at manipulating underage people. We know that, right, from the allegations, but also old people. And me personally, you know, I have a very deep-seated disdain for anyone that takes advantage of kids or people that take advantage of old people. Like those two things, and to have him be both of those things, the fact that I've seen him, you know, after his firing is when the assaults on the underage women came up and all the solicitations. And if you're just coming into this, he used to have an Instagram that he's since deleted, but I possess the majority of these solicitations to these minors in different states, and he's aware that I have that stuff, and that's why you don't hear him talking about me. But behind the scenes, he's out doing a lot of damage since he's been fired. Your question had to do with Warren. Well, he couldn't get to Warren directly, so he went to Rob Hoffman, and he basically unloaded any possible text message he thought that would sound whatever from Steven, which Steven and I are so similar. Like we could give you the shirt off our back and we could be the coolest fucking guy, but if getting irritated over some long-standing business shit. We could get ghetto really fast. So I'm sure he found some juicy shit, whatever, insults or something, right? But he got all that and he fucking sent it to Rob Hoffman to make sure Warren got it because he wanted to destroy their relationship. And that's a heavy thing. Like if you're a Ratt fan that's fucking hearing this right now, you might start to understand a little more clearly why when all this shit went down and I did the Facebook post heard around the world where I was like, this guy's fucking fired for this, that, this, and that. And if you're a Ratt fan, please unsubscribe from his fucking channel because, you know, we want to keep you away from him. And nobody knew what I was talking about. There's a lot of people that got offended. There was people that said, well, I'm going to sign up for his channel right now because this is America and fuck you. In fact, Wednesday 13 came on his show and sat right down with Jason and told people to not subscribe to me and protected his buddy who those women that he assaulted were Wednesday 13 fans. And he totally knows that. He's even, you know, these girls have talked to Wednesday and told him about this. And he, until Jason's sitting in a jail cell, he doesn't want to hear it. He does not care or he doesn't believe them. I'm not sure. He won't address it, but he totally fucking knows about it. But they got real cocky right at the beginning with the firing. They were going to do a whole campaign called It Ain't Right. He was going to have Johnny Monaco come on and they were going to shit talk each of us every day on their show. They were going to monetize their memberships and they were going to show, they were told after his firing, take those fucking road diaries off your thing. Get those off. You have lost the privilege. The privilege has been taken away from you for that. 200 videos he had to take down, plus videos of the cruises and stuff like that. He had to take down also. He was very bitter and angry about this, as you can imagine. At first, he wanted to play games. He was like, well, here's what I'm going to do. He put it under a paywall. He put all those behind a paywall. And that's when he threatened to come on with Johnny. Now, Johnny should be ashamed of himself, if I could be frank with you guys, just as a guitar player affiliated with the scene, that he would partake in something that fucking immature and damaging to his career. You know what I mean? Like, who the fuck would hire you, dude, after doing something like that or sign? And especially, I mean, he dressed up like a lawn jockey or something. Like he dressed up like a lawn jockey to go cut Jason's hair and do the first shit talk session. And it was like, when I saw that, and then Johnny started saying derogatory things about Dahlia Dark, who I do the Fright Bite with, and he started doing his thing where he was going to start shaming me every day like he had done for the last 3 years with Jason on his show. And I was like, oh no. Right at that time, these girls came out to me when they saw my post, and that's when they started giving me all this evidence. And it was angering, let me tell you, to know how he treated these women, for one, these underaged 16-year-olds, right? How he treated them, assaulting one of them, but how he used his connections with us, how he used his connections with Wednesday 13 or whatever to even get her, right? His arrogance in the whole matter, him going on his show with Sean Clark and putting out this entire alibi that is anybody that watches it could know he's lying. He's like, it's like he's not even using his voice. He's like, well, this guy leaves his 16-year-old girl with us. What's he think? We're babysitters over here. It was just such a phony. You have to watch it. I think he still has it up. I think in their minds, they think that it exonerates them in some way, but it stupidly puts them at the convention where she says this happened at. It puts her with them. So it looks really fucking bad. I mean, I can tell you that in the past, one successful things Jason's been able to do is basically threaten his victims into submission. And he has different ways to do that. He basically will threaten to release nude photos, or he'll threaten to release information he has on their family that he might have groomed them and found out or something, like having a file on them so he could basically say, if you ever come after me, I'll make sure you're very embarrassed for that, you know. And sadly, that's the case for a lot of women, even adults that get raped or something like that. Like what they're put through in the courtroom and things like that is so shameful. You know what I mean? And a lot of times these guys get away with it. Like if you notice, before people go to jail, like Jason's best friend, Ron Jeremy, those guys hurt a lot of people before they actually end up going to jail. So for a lot of people thought he was innocent, because now it's like 6 months later and he hasn't been locked up yet. Like it's way more complex than that. I know there was a police report made and there's lawyers involved. I don't know what's going on with it. I just know that they came to me, so I feel like I am a voice for them, because it was kind of like, wow, I was kind of almost left by myself in the whole thing. Fortunately, you know, Steven chimed in on my post just to kind of give it the stamp, you know, because it was kind of weird for me to come out and be the guy to do it. But at the same time, I was the guy to do it, because I was the biggest victim in the band. Everybody else was rewarded the entire time on his show in all different kinds of ways, but I was always shamed and punished. And, you know, he was using his show to make people think I was lame on some way, which takes it around to why I'm even here tonight. You know, 30 episodes ago, I go, you know what? I need to fire up a YouTube channel and let people know who I am, and just turn on that fucking camera and just be completely honest with them about anything they want to know, and not let him hold on to the narrative. That's something malignant narcissists have to do. They have to constantly get a hold of the narrative. And he was doing that. He was, even after he was fired, he was trying to say that he never copped that he was fired. Johnny Monaco has never copped to why he was fired. Those guys are out doing a completely different thing behind the scenes. And it's pathetic. It actually is pathetic. On camera, they're not. I'm the only one that's out telling you guys any of this shit. But behind the scenes, they're doing a lot of damage. The stuff with Warren is an example of that. Now, hopefully those guys work it out. I mean, they do have to go play those 2 shows. They're probably going to be awkward as hell, but they're going to have to do it. And hopefully those guys have a long enough history and enough time has passed between when Jason did that they could kind of go, okay. I mean, I've gotten into arguments with family members and friends, and we've been able to overcome it before, and hopefully those guys can too. But yeah, that was his attempt to really put the final nail in Ratt's coffin. And after Bobby doing that with Bobby, and now doing that with Warren, I think the Ratt fans should be very, very disgusted and angry with Jason Green. For that 100%. I would not let him go for that. And now hopefully you understand why I say get the fuck off his fucking YouTube. Like, why would you be if you're a Ratt fan, who the fuck would be subscribed? That'd be like me going, oh yeah, I'm the biggest 90s fan you could find. Nirvana, I drove the guy to go get the gun that Kurt blew his head off with. You know, I guess that wouldn't make me the biggest Nirvana fan, now would it? You know what I mean? Or a fan of that genre. I mean, this person's damaging such genres and damaging a very special band to a lot of people, and a very influential guitarist to people. You know, even Carlos, loved seeing Carlos in there too. And Jason compromised that. So I do want you guys to be aware of such things. So when you see me up there, don't take it out on me. I'm just a guy who's always ready to rock. I've sacrificed a lot of things in my life. I didn't have a family. I never took on a serious job. You know, I always wanted to be ready if Steven called me. And I'm so glad, you know what I mean, that when I die, that at least I know I made records out there that gave people enjoyment. And as I said, this Dogma record is going to blow your mind. It really is. It really is. And so proud to be a part of it. I think like my whole life culmination, you know, leading up to what'll probably be next year. You know what I mean? This year's kind of in the dumps, but hearing Jason on his show when he was like, oh, those guys, they only have a couple shows. I'm so busy with my great life. And when I saw that, that's when I came out and started talking about the girls and stuff. And that's when those girls came up, that's when all of a sudden he was like, truce. He was sending Steven truce. He was like, here, videos down. You know, he started taking all that down. But here's what he was doing behind the scenes. He's calling up, as you know, through our band, he's met, and the Sin City Sinners, you know, he's also met a lot of artists that moved to Vegas where he would give them a little scratch for showing up and jamming at Vamped, you know, or whatever. But mostly it was through the 4 years with us because we've played with all those 80s bands. You know what I mean? So he was able to parlay that, get more interviews, and let's face it, it validates him as a person when he goes, I'm Stephen Pearcy's manager, or I am the tour man, whatever it is. He has that validation, right? So he can use that to go, hey, you know, I manage Steven here. I run that whole show. How would you like to come on my show? He can like start bringing in more people, right? And going about it that way. So I do feel like we gave him the platform to grow and exploit things to become probably going to hit 50,000 subscribers on his channel. But when it comes to Ratt, you know, at the time I was like, man, if you're a Ratt fan, you should not be subscribed to him because this guy has totally hurt the band, hurt us, you know, hurt the Ratt name. He's hurt those guys as their friendships. He's hurt me personally for years now. And it's mentally, it's been a good amount. Like, luckily, I'm a strong enough person that it'll take more than him. But I've never in my life had to deal with that kind of internet bashing. Like, he has a whole little network of people. Some of them are here tonight saying some stuff in the chat room, but he has them working on his behalf. He's going behind the scenes, calling all those people I was just referring to, stars that he's met over the years, calling them up. And this is what he's doing. He's going, hey, it's Jason here. How you doing? Yeah. You know, you might hear some crazy stuff about me going on. You're going to hear some crazy stuff. I just want you to know it's totally not true. This deranged, jealous, bald guy, right? Erik, right? Pearcy's band. I don't know what his deal is. He's out of control. He's crazy. He's saying all these crazy things, but anyway, none of it's true. I just want you to know none of it's true. I'm suing Pearcy. I have all these lawyers right now are suing Pearcy, all this stuff, which is like, I mean, it's not even something I would mention to Steven because it's like, it's such a joke. I mean, this guy kept no books. He wasn't even like a hired guy. He was like a contracted guy on a handshake. He wasn't even like a 1099 guy. You know what I mean? So he never technically, like on paper, worked for us really even. But it's just insane. I go off on these tangents and I start to get emotional. I get upset about it. But you know, the damage that he caused to my public perception with his show, it'll take a long time to get past that. And that's the reason why I'm here every Wednesday night. This is me fighting back. And in most cases, I've been totally hung out to dry, with the exception of our band behind the scenes has been very cool and supportive to me. And one of the coolest things that they did, and it's not like they formally did it as a formal apology, but they allowed me to take the privilege on of hosting the road videos. And I thought that's kind of cool that they did that, because it kind of makes up for like the 3 years that I was treated so poorly in the band. And a lot of it, some of it they didn't realize. I think Matt was kind of onto it first. And then Matt started to be a target for Jason, where they started getting into it. And then that's when Matt realized he was dealing with a fucking crazy person too. And now there's a lot of us artists out there that are taught since this happened. Believe me, there's probably dozens of big name people that you guys know, of course, that are very impressed with me, you know, in a way, I'll say that much. And then there's some that are Jason's friend and that I've interviewed on there, and they don't want to believe it. And there's certainly some of those I won't mention that deleted me as a friend on my Facebook, which that's on them, man. If they want to support a pedophile, that's their fucking problem. Some people I had known for 20 years, you know what I mean? But that's so on them. Like, I don't even care. and I sleep so good at night. I don't watch my back. You know what I mean? I don't care. You know what I mean? I have really nothing to lose. I've always considered myself to be a serf. You know what I mean? Like, I don't own a house. I don't have any assets. I got a car. The back of it's all bashed in and it's got 150,000 miles on it. The windshield's all cracked. I only take it to go to the grocery store. You know what I mean? The only assets you could maybe say are my guitars. Just to move into Susan's place here, I had to get rid of everything I had. My bed, even, you know what I mean? That's her bed in this room I rent. And the only things here are my computer, my clothes, and my guitars. And those guitars are my tools that I use to create the records and the tools that I use to perform the concerts. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm not an owner of any $5,000 Les Paul. That Les Paul that I just paid to have Val get back into shape is the same one I've had since I was 20 years old, and it's beat to hell. It's probably worth maybe $200 or $300. I mean, maybe it's worth more to someone that's a fan, you know what I mean? But nothing I have is worth, no guitar I have is probably worth more than $600, you know what I mean? So there's nothing to come after me for, is what I'm saying. Like, and maybe that's part of it. Like, sue me. You know how much it costs to sue somebody? A lot. And if it turns out that everything they said was fucking true, oh boy, that's when you get countersued and you're paying everybody's legal fees and you're paying for damages. Ask me how I know that. Ask me how I know. If I was to be sued, it wouldn't be the first time. It was never in the music business, but I've been sued on other debt related things and such, with credit cards and things. So I've had my ups and downs in my life, but I've also strived to get my life back on track. And even though I don't have any big assets, like, I still have an 800 credit score, and I've like managed my finances in such a way that they work for me. I mean, I don't anything more than food and some clothes. I had to recently get some clothes because I lost some weight, but I really don't spend money on myself outside of that. I appreciate everybody that's super chatted me. It helps pay StreamYard. It helps pay some of my bills while I'm off the road, stuff like that, and helps kind of fund our little hangouts here and everything. But yeah, he ruined things. To go round it back to what you asked about, damaging things like that, sending those texts with no reference, or not showing Warren what Jason said right above it or anything, right? You know, women can do that too. Women can, like, say you have some argument, some heated argument with a girlfriend or a wife, and they could just take the one thing you said and look what this guy said. You know, it's like totally out of context. You know what I mean? So I'm just trying to say that's pretty fucked up, right? That he's doing that. Plus, for me to be getting phone calls that he's out spreading these rumors around to these other artists in the scene, I can tell you none of what he's saying is true, and everything I'm telling you is true. And a lot of you actually know that. But for my protection, some of this evidence was even sent to some of the gossip circles of the internet. You can only guess who that would be. You know what I mean? So if anything was to happen to me, other people have it too. You know what I mean? Not that anything would, but no, I haven't. The reason why I haven't directly posted is because they were 16-year-olds, and there's just something about posting evidence like that straight up to the internet. It's not really my place to do that. I don't want to compromise that investigation either. So, but it's all here, I assure you. So I hope, Zachary, that kind of answers things a little better. Spicoli, Jimmy is a badass drummer, dude. Yeah, he is. He's out with Bullet Boys right now. Good stuff. Are you entertained? Yeah, I mean, I would love to get to a point where none of this has to be mentioned, but you know, there's some people that have helped prop Jason up and like kind of get him back out there, and now he's like still continuing to exploit people for his clicks and so forth. Most recently, he's had some success with graveyard videos and doing videos on the deaths of actresses, which is super ironic. I mean, you guys might not realize this, but 2 of Jason's girlfriends died in his care. I don't know if you're aware of that. I feel like definitely at some point he is going to get his dream to be famous, and it's going to be for being on a documentary, something like either American Greed or not Forensic Files, but maybe some kind of cold case, maybe a Cold Case Files or American Greed or The Worst Roommate or something like that. I can't see him. He just needs to get a little more notorious to like he's not even at 50,000 subs. I don't know if he's worthy of it yet, but I think when people see what a monster he is, that will eventually make it to a documentary level thing. And I hope they come to me and pay me to talk on it. I'd love to do it. But yeah, this is something that's I'm probably going to have to be asked about for a while, and it sucks. I hate it. But as I see him slithering his way back, it's just I hope you guys see it for what it is. You know, even filming a graveyard, I can assure you that Jason did not get permits to do that. I can assure you that he did not obtain any permits to go into the Las Vegas graveyard or the Hollywood cemetery, any of those things. He did not obtain a permit to go in there and start filming. So take that for what it's worth. And when the stars that he's picking to do these sad deaths of, you know, or whatever, it hurts my feelings. I don't mean to be melodramatic here, but Dana Plato and Dana Hill, I both really liked them as actresses when I was a little boy. And when they died, if I felt something there, you know, it hurt me in a way. And I know that sounds silly, but I think for the child actors, they kind of hold a different place in our heart if we were also children at the time. And when you do know the story and know that how things ended and that people weren't there for them to look out for them, I can only assume that like Dana Plato probably doesn't have her family paying to keep her trademark of her likeness and such things. I mean, the world's changed a lot since she died, and a lot of the internet things, and her family might not even be aware that such protections are available to them. You know what I mean? And that's where I could see a guy like Jason knowing that, you know what I mean? And so knowing that he's going to get away with this because she's dead and her family probably isn't going to do something about it. And to me, that's just another like form of exploitation. Going into a graveyard is so taboo to do. Jake Paul did something like that where he went to I think Japan and like went into some suicide forest and filmed it. Man, that got him in trouble. Like only because he was such a big star at that point was he able to sidestep that. But I will tell you, if any of you have anyone buried in that cemetery that you're seeing him do those videos and you see a tombstone with their name, that illegible name, you know, you can contact the cemetery and they'll have his video yanked in a heartbeat. You know, that's his thing. I mean, he doesn't, it's ironic because he has his girlfriend's apparently in entertainment, passed the bar exam to be an entertainment lawyer, and nothing he does is in his interest, legally speaking. You know what I mean? You'd think she'd be like, hey, you want to get a permit before you go? You know what I mean? But no, he cuts corners. He doesn't ask for permission. He just does things and see if he can get away with it. And that's when you see interviews like Brent Muscat when he talks about how things went. It's a familiar story where he's able to be clever in a exploitive way and kind of get some success from it, but then it always slips out of his hands due to him being a malignant narcissist, and he ends up being his own worst enemy and he loses it. And that's historically what's happened to the guy, but it's just so much darker than that when you know the deaths of these girls, the assaults, the pedophilia. It's pretty fucking hardcore, man. And I hate that I'm tied to it, to be honest. I really hate it. I don't know what else to say. But he may never go down for it. And it's just a reflection of how shitty life in America can be when it comes to these kinds of criminals. You know what I mean? Where they just make more money, you know, putting them in jail for a while and tagging them and, you know, letting them out. There are so many pedophiles. I've made reference to that earlier that are on, like, if you look on the Megan's List website, they're not in prison. They're all around you. They're all around us. They're like, if I was to look around here, there'd be red dots everywhere. And that's all I really wanted. I just want him tagged and bagged. You know what I mean? Just like, let people know. So if there's like, some aspiring young person who's trying to break into the entertainment business, that they're not, groomed by him in some capacity. You know what I mean? Like, people should know it, but no one wants to touch it. No one wants to touch it. And I was the only one hung out there, that stuck myself out there. I'm proud of it, but there was a price to pay at the same time. And there's people that are not giving me the golden bump. There's people, nobody's saying go check my channel out. There's no promotion. Like, the only promotion I'm going to get is straight from you guys that are watching it right now. If you I said something today that resonates with you and you think there's other people that would pick up what I'm laying down, tell them to sub up to my channel. If you like comedy stuff, I'm not always talking about To Catch a Predator, you know what I mean? But this is still pretty fresh. I'm still mentally picking back up the pieces from the abuse, the narcissistic abuse I've been put through for the last, close to 4 years. And then the mess that we're kind of left in right now. I mean, this guy says he manages the band. It's like he puppets the band, and then we're left in a really weird spot right now. You know what I mean? But luckily, Steven's a legend, and of course we'll be back out. It's just that he's 70, so I mean, time is of the essence, you know what I mean? While he can still go out and throw down, we need to be out there playing. So God, let's get the Pearcy band back out there, or let's mend the fences with Warren, or whatever. But yeah, a lot of scoop getting thrown out in the chat tonight. Let's kind of try to move on. Scuff, since you mentioned Pearcy sending Curry that song, would Curry be considered to fill in on some shows? No, I don't think so. I think Jimmy knows the songs. He has the rehearsal tapes. We like him. It's like he's already been in the fold. I would think it's just not necessary to do that. Having Fred play on a song at some point would be cool, Jay Lee's a huge fan of Smash. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, both albums, I play all the guitars and wrote all the guitar solos and perform all the guitar solos on both of those albums. Dog Mob will be the first one that features but has some guest players on some of the tracks. And Doug Aldridge, Joel Hoekstra, a couple pretty snazzy dudes popping in to do some leads. But 80% of the album I wrote, and the other 20% Steven wrote. So between he and I, we made this record together. And I think there was only one of my songs that maybe Doug Aldridge played a solo on. It came out really freaking good. I would just say he is really goddamn good. Like, I've always known Doug Aldridge is good, and he's always a go-to guy to get gigs. But I'll tell you, like, those two guys are kind of similar, Joel and Doug, because they can rip it up and shred super fast with the rest of them, but they also have the pop sensibilities, and as recording artists and stuff, they will be melodic. They will not play fast just for the sake of playing fast. I mean, but they are so good, and they have so much panache, in their playing, that's so next level, indicative of guys that play 5 hours a day, which sometimes I'd like to sit there and play 5 hours a day. You know what ends up screwing that up? Technology. Me futzing around with the computer to get the sounds out of the computer sounds, that kind of thing. By the time I get it sounding good, I don't want to play anymore. I might as well just use this thing to like practice on. Coley says Smash rocked. Zachary's saying, let me take a sip of coffee from my bite down on it mug. Hold on. Oh my goodness. You can hear me drinking. I heard View to a Thrill was originally written to be the next Ratt album, but Steven did it as a solo album instead. That, I don't know how accurate that is. I think around the time it might have been, my memory is a little fuzzy because it's going back over a decade, but Infestation ended up being the record that they made, which is a great album. It's super good. But at the time, I think he was originally going to offer them Smash or to do something with Smash. But truth be told, like, it's kind of like they would, a wife looking at somebody like a side chick. And I hate to put myself as like a side chick, but probably, and I'm not trying to speak for them, but I would assume there's a little of that. You know what I mean? Like, we don't care about your. I know with Warren, there's a little of that. You know, he's got a little bit of possible, maybe not the best, whatever taste in his mouth with the solo band playing, you know what I mean? So I don't think he was interested in anything that I had to offer in that capacity, and who cares? That's fine. That's his prerogative. That doesn't change anything for me. I've always been super proud to have played for Steven. He's the guy I've known. He's the guy who moved in across the street from me. He's been my big brother through this whole thing. So he's the one I strive to keep happy and love when I do make happy. You know what I mean? And we can, when I'm out and we're having good shows playing, it's so, you know, I hold it dear to my heart, and I've sacrificed everything. You know, I could have probably definitely played in a handful of bands that might have got a deal, you might have ended up hearing about them for a minute. But the chance to play for a multi-platinum artist, I was like, hold on to this with both hands, because I know how everything else just comes and goes, and the business has just gotten so goofy since the 80s to now. It's like there's a better chance you could independently make some money and go out there independent by being your own agent, being your own video maker, song recorder, person who pays for ads, you know, which are available to, these tools are available to any band out there. But you have to have something there. You know, somebody's got to see some money in it for it to really be something that's pushed in everybody's face. Otherwise, yeah, you might be able to make a living in the same way a carny, you know, makes a living on the road, right? I mean, it's not much different. It's a circus on the road, and you go and you do your 1 or 2 performances, and then most of it's traveling. It's cool. Hey, brother, does Pearcy own his masters? Does the label have to give the artist the masters after 20 years? You know, the Ratt stuff just came up for that, and I believe he renegotiated something, if I'm not mistaken. Now, with the solo albums, he does currently own all of his solo stuff. The Dog Mob even owns, because we haven't formally done anything with it yet. Youngblood is an industry plant, dude. Yeah, I mean, he's very talented, and he deserves the attention he's getting, and he's put on some phenomenal concerts. They're almost like Chippendales concerts, really. I don't know if you agree with that sentiment. But any of the live stuff I've seen, it totally reminds me of Chippendales, like an array of women, a lot of middle-aged ones that are just losing it for this guy. Definitely, it looks to me like 75% female audience at these shows. Am I wrong? I don't know too much about him. You know, I have a buddy that's knows Johnny Depp and the studio up there, and he was recently in there with Steven Tyler, doing some music with Steven Tyler. And the stories I heard, he's pretty legit. Like, he was right there doing the song with Steven Tyler, from what I heard. And he was like, "Come on, Steven, you can do it, mate. You can do it. Yeah." You know, here he is, in the same room recording with a legend, Steven Tyler, and coaching him through the vocal. I mean, he's the real deal as far as like a singer. He has it all. He's checking all the boxes. The music itself, I'm not drawn to it personally, but I wasn't really drawn to Oasis either when they came out. You know what I mean? I'm not a big fan of like the British sounding singers and stuff. You know, like I just never really. I mean, I like the Sex Pistols, I guess, but like the Stones never tried to sound English or British. You know, when they sang, they were more emulating American blues and country and stuff. They were trying to sing more that way. They, in the UK, they loved our music and we loved their music. It was so confusing, You know, it's weird, but yeah. Anyways, I think he's the real deal, and I'm not crap talking him, but I'll be honest about it. As music doesn't do anything for me, but I think he looks cool as hell, and I'm really impressed with his performances. And I had a feeling that this was going to happen, that he was going to kind of crash out. I mean, you can only push a guy that far till he's, that's it, I'm done. I mean, dude, they were just working that guy. Johnny Ponder, Pearcy, LA Guns, Buck Cherry next year. That would be cool. That would be very cool. I would love to do a whole tour. I know Steven's open to it. We'll see. Have I ever met the Misfits? I've met the guitarist, the skeleton faced guitarist dude. Very cool. Oh no, I'm forgetting his name right now. Whoa. I love bunnies. You're awesome, dude. Keep up the amazing vids. Me and my mom love watching you. Okay, well, appreciate that. Spicoli's saying rock stars should never complain about anything ever. Yeah, Blas Elias shares your sentiment. He's like, dude, you get to go play music for a living. Like, what are you complaining about? He is the most probably professional guy I've ever known. Blas, just as far as always keeping his priorities as being, athletic, always in shape, healthy mind, healthy body. Obviously his work, his history in Slaughter, as we know, back in the day, Up All Night, Sleep All Day, Fly to the Angels, all those big hits. And he must have been young. The dude still looks the same, which is trippy. But see, if you don't do drugs and you don't smoke cigarettes, you too could look like Blas Elias when you're his age. I believe he's still in his 50s, though. He's still pretty considered not old or anything, but looks great. But he's never touched a drop of alcohol in his life, never tried drugs. And man, hopefully this younger generation, hopefully the desire to take drugs and do that'll change. Like the musicians of today don't do those stupid things. And it's possible. I know that sounds silly, but there has been a shift. Alcohol sales are down, across the board. I would say the younger 21-year-olds, there's less people drinking now than ever, and less people smoking cigarettes now than ever. So it is possible. It is possible that they can not think that you have to be into drugs to be in a band or to start taking drugs, because that is definitely something that destroys your looks, your teeth, your brain, especially your ability to work with other people, and it'll just rob you of your opportunities. Coley's setting his smoke detector off. It's gone off twice during the show, dude. Crazy. We're getting towards the end of the show here. Jay Lee's gotten 2 mystery boxes and was really glad to get that bottle opener. Yeah. I sent him it was a Stephen Pearcy bottle opener that was from like one of Steven's tours like 15 years ago. But it was kind of special because it was on my keychain for like probably a decade or something. It was just, I just always used it. It was just always on my jeans vest or whatever. It was always just hanging off there. And I can't tell you how many beers that thing is opened. So it wasn't just that I sent him something from the merch booth. It was my personal Metal in America. That's what it was. MIA. For some years on the solo tour, Steven would call it Metal in America, MIA. And he had made these. Do you get any of you guys have it? But it was a cool like bottle opener and had like a racing guy with a car racing helmet. And but he was happy to get it. I'm glad you liked the gift. NFL rock and music's another instrument question. Throw it at me. What is a click track for a drummer? I heard Tommy Lee has been playing to a click track. How does that benefit his drumming? Thanks, bro. Well, for him, they have a lot of background vocals that come out. So in order to blow samples on time, the drummer has to have a click track going, and he also needs it so that he can accurately let the band know that the song is going to start, and whatever keyboards, extra guitars, vocals, synthesizers, whatever else are on these background tracks, so that they all pop off at the right time. It's got to be on. And then usually the drummer's got a cue, he'll tss, tss, and then they all come in together. And then when it gets to the girls, 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 that gets blown in. That's why it always sounds like the record right then, because then, and they've always done that. You know, they've always had those vocals. They used to have the Nasty Habits female singers. I liked that. I thought it was pretty cool. But they decided to replace them with some samples or whatever. So Tommy's on that. And most bands today, like I said, I would say, shit, probably 90+% of metal bands are blowing in a bunch of stuff and have laptops. And of course, their guys are on click tracks too. Practicing to a click track is good for anyone. I mean, just as a recording artist, just as a musician, unless you were born like with great rhythm. I don't know. I wasn't. I mean, my rhythm's not all that great. I actually have to practice for such things, and I have to play with a good drummer. You know what I mean? To keep me on. You know what I mean? I'm a white guy. I don't have the best rhythm. You know, but I noticed when I'm doing a lot of studio work and working with that click, it helps for that. For like in the recording studio, you have to be able to work with that and to make good recordings. And so forth. So there's benefits for Tommy, just keeping him up as a good drummer and to blow in those samples. But that's what that click track's for. JG Day will come, guaranteed. Yeah or no, man. You know what I mean? It's like I'll accept it if it doesn't, but it just sucks the world we're living in, where like justice just dies in the dark for so many. You know, there's so many bad fucking people out there that do bad shit all the time and they get away with it. You know what I mean? There's no guarantee, but I just wanted to personally let you know what a piece of shit he was. Like, and I don't feel bad about it. You know, I've been accused of being terrible because I'm getting in the way of this guy's income, right? You wouldn't believe how many people told me that. And I'm like, wait a second, you're telling me that this guy that spent 4 years trying to get me fired, you're upset because now I've blown the whistle on this guy, that I'm the guy that's getting in the way of his money? That's the funniest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. I just escaped 4 years of that motherfucker. That's the last thing I want to hear from anybody. I took it so well. I took the kill him with kind. I could have killed him myself with a baseball bat, but I killed him with kindness instead. I was nothing but professional for those 3.5 years, as I was to Johnny. It angered Johnny. It angered him. I remember one particular day, there was a big blow up over merch, and it had to do with Christy, Steven's lady, had a feeling Jason was embezzling. And it came up. And one thing about narcissists, if you try to like bring something up to them, they will lose their fucking mind. They will. I've never seen him flip out like he did. But mind you, remember I told you he was keeping no books whatsoever. He had his girlfriend work in the merch booth. She's also not keeping any books. Yeah, you could see where he didn't really have a way to prove it so much, but he somehow flipped it, and he actually pinned Steve and Christy kind of against each other for a minute, because from that point on, Christy wasn't coming out to the shows. He got rid of her, which he had also got rid of my girlfriend. I don't know if I've ever told this story, but he went to Steven and said some shit about Susan and got her banned from going on the cruises, like the Monsters of Rock cruises. And so any of you guys that are married or in a relationship could understand what that would do to me in my relationship. Like dating a guy, a music man, if you will, is a tough gig, right? Like the Journey song, dating a music man ain't always what it's meant to be, right? But anyways, nice thing that we get to do is take our lady on a cruise a couple times a year to the Bahamas, and it doesn't cost us anything. It's like a nice like cool thing we get to do for our chick. You know what I mean? And that motherfucker I don't know what the hell he said to Steven, like what he embellished or what he did, that snitch bitch motherfucker. But he somehow got Susan fucking pulled off of the cruises. So these are all things he's systematically done to punish me. And there's so much more than that. I mean, I try not to go past 2 or 3 hours on this show, but over time, you will start to understand what level of mind fuckery was fucking going on with me here. But bottom line, he might not, man. And when he's got people propping him up and people like Wednesday 13 helping to keep him somewhat, I don't even know to call him relevant or whatever. But as long as these people continue to help him and cover for him, and no online magazines talk about any of this stuff because they're scared they're going to be sued. The only thing that he can really do is if you were to like use any of his YouTube footage or possibly a picture of him, he might be able to do something with that. But I'm not using a photo of him. I don't like to look at his face. But I have no reason to like post his show on here, you know what I mean? But that's something he could affect this channel with. But as an American, you know what I mean? Like I could sit here and give my testimony about something that happened to me, and there's nothing that he could do about that. And when it comes to the allegations of the underage women that he assaulted and solicited in multiple states, you know, they came to me with that, and it's not me hearing about it from somebody else and somebody else. I mean, those victims came directly to me and gave me their evidence. And then that guy, when he found out that I had it, he fucking deleted his whole Instagram. I mean, that should mean something to you guys, because you got Instagram and you got Facebook, right? What do you use Instagram for? Instagram's for the younger people and Facebook's for the old timers, right? I mean, nobody really under 25 is on Facebook. Okay. So he wasn't getting any 16-year-olds on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? Like he was using his Instagram for that, and he was using disappearing messages to groom these underage girls with. And he thought he didn't think it through. Like he didn't think that if he sent a dick pic to these girls, or he, you know, wanted to meet them at M3 to take their virginity on the side of the building or whatever, he didn't think that they would screenshot some of this shit. You know what I mean? So we have it all, Jason. We have it all. And just because you fucking deleted your Instagram just only makes you look super fucking guilty. But for his little posse of people that are out there covering for him, saying if it was true he'd be in jail, don't even listen to them. Just know that that's either them and their burner accounts, or as Brent Muscat made reference to, his fan base is like weird cult. His whole group that he works with, I call him the pedo bunch, but that everybody working on his show, they're all part of it. They're all in on it, in my opinion. You have to be. And it's to me, it's like prison rules. Like if you were to protect a fucking pedo in prison, you would get your ass smoked, because they just assume you're one of them. Why else would you be protecting them? And honestly, I take the same stance. Anybody that's propped up Jason after knowing what's going on, I just assume is one too, or a pedo sympathizer. But I am not, and I don't care. I have really nothing. I'm 53 years old. Like my prospects of making it big is something else. This is it. I've been, whatever I was gonna get, I got it. I had it. I did it. I've been doing it. I'm gonna do it some more, baby. I'll do it some more. I'm gonna do it some more till Steven's not doing it anymore. But even if it ends today or tomorrow, I'm totally cool with it. I could continue to do stuff like this. I love entertaining you guys this way. I have a personality, in spite of what Jason was telling people. He was, when I first got the invited to be on Chris Aiken Presents podcast, I think it was like 3 years ago or something like that. It just happened to be because I had done a couple interviews, and you know, Chris thought I was funny and cool. And he goes, I'm doing my own show. How would you like to do it with me? I had no experience in doing that, and I wasn't very great when it started, but I thought he would have thought that was, I don't know why I thought Jason would have thought that was cool, or like, hey, good for you. I'll give you some pointers. No, he went on with Jason, with Johnny the very next day on his show. I happened to catch it, and I just happened to turn it on. I saw they were both live, and I turn on, and they're laughing their asses off about me, making fun of me. And you hear Jason go, "You don't give that guy a voice. You don't give that idiot a voice," or he said something along those lines. And I was like, kind of shocked. I was like, holy shit. And they were just both having that, they were just thought it was the funniest thing. They were going on and laughing about it for hours. And I wasn't it wasn't that I was like, it hurt my feelings. I mean, it was a little humiliating that they were doing that to me on their show, but it was also a big wake up call of what kind of people Johnny and Jason were, and like what was going to end up coming my way for the next couple of years. And I remember on that day was one of the days I did go to Steven. Eventually I stopped telling Steven about any of this, and I stopped watching his show altogether just so he could get out of my head and stop fucking with me. But I remember then I go, do you know that these guys are telling people not to give me a voice and all this stuff? And he actually reprimanded Jason. I remember Jason called me up, right? Oh, Erik. And he called me up, and I didn't want to take the call, but I did. And you know what he did? He tried to tell me that he wasn't talking about me. Because one thing he'll do is never say my name. He'll just make it super obvious who he's talking about. And I was not, I'm from Jersey originally. I know he's from New York, and we could sniff each other's bullshit out. I was not having it. You know what I mean? I'm going, simple question. I go, all right, Jason, well, who the fuck were you talking about then? And he could not come up with a name. You would think that he'd be like, oh, I was talking about, not thinking like, when it comes to your jobs on the line here, you better come up with a name, right? He couldn't come up with a name. He knew I had him cold. You're talking about me. I know it. And it's from that point, between the booking me on 3 flights and then the shit that was starting to happen on the show, I had his number. But definitely those guys started it. And I'm going to finish it. I did finish it. I did finish it. They're not associated with our band on paper anymore, and you're not going to see them at the shows. They have nothing to do with us in that aspect, but it's not over, because Jason is out there smearing us to other people. And I know that there's probably some people out there that are in the business that know what I'm talking about, and I'll have you know this, but I think you know when you're being lied to anyway, and I don't even have to call those people to tell them different. You know what I mean? They know, and that's why they're calling us and letting us know. But just so you know the level of scumbaggery that he is, you're gonna find out. Jay Lee, he was mad because he wasn't making no money off of Warren. Oh, he was so mad about that. He was so mad. Honestly, I felt at the time pretty defeated in the whole thing when that popped up. I mean, I didn't really even know that was happening. You know what I mean? I was like, God, what's up with this thing? They had the reunion show. And what had happened was the whole band knew that they were going to be the band, but they didn't tell me. And Jason loved that. And we were in the car once at one point, and I was like, and we had a certain amount of shows left, and this is how I pay my rent. This is like my bread and butter. And now I'm the only guy who doesn't know what's happening. Like, totally the only guy kept out of the dark. The guy has been in the band 25 years, writes the records, has no idea what's happening. And I go, so when are we getting our plane tickets for this X show, right? And I'll never forget it. Jason turns back to me and he's like, should we tell him? Should we tell him? He couldn't wait to fucking give me the news that that our solo shows had got flipped, that Jason successfully had Sullivan flipped them to Warren shows. And so everyone knew this but me. So I mean, which is pretty lame, because I would need to make some moves to make sure my rent gets paid and stuff like that. So it was pretty cold. But at the time, when it looked like he was positioning himself to really win this war between us over the 4 years, you know, that even though I played along and did everything that was asked of me and still delivered the Dog Mob record, I mean, that was still something I was writing for during all this bad time for me. It looked like he was going to win and really profit, because now he was like kind of working for both guys. But Warren kind of threw a wrench in the whole meet and greet thing. He was, still a little apprehensive from COVID and germs, and rightfully so. I personally didn't go out to any meet and greets for a while because I have a heart condition. I just thought maybe I shouldn't be shaking so many hands. Maybe I'm getting old, maybe with the lack of sleep I'm under and stuff, maybe it'd be best if I wasn't going out there. So it wasn't as important to me. And I totally understand where he's coming from there. And being that he, money doesn't control necessarily Warren's, motivations. You know what I mean? If he wants to do something, he's doing it because he wants to, not because not for the money. Not that he's like, hey, I'll play it for free. And I'm not saying that, but I'm saying he does it. He won't do anything he doesn't want to do. And you have to respect that. But he wasn't down with that. And oh my God, that was like, so now Jason was realizing he had manipulated this situation or whatever they had now, or moving this, what was going to be a one-off, to now trying to push this as the Page Plant thing. And now his plans are being ruined because he can't sell this thing. So now he was like, I'm going to get him. I'm going to go to his plan was to get a hotel room set up so he could have fans pay all this money and get to one by one come into the room. And to me, that's like a prostitute. He was like looking to treat Warren like a prostitute, in my opinion. You have the hotel room. Okay, come here, give me your money. Okay, go. Till she's there on the bed. You got 10 minutes. You know what I mean? That's kind of as gross as it seemed. And, I don't even know if Warren's even aware of that. You know what I mean? I know that now it's not like you have to, I mean, once he was upset that Jason had even been involved at all. You know what I mean? He's like, what the fuck? It's just another bullshit thing in this circus. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there was no patching things up there, but Jason just wanted to make sure that he destroyed whatever business relationship they had by sending private text messages between Jason and Steven to Warren. Anything that he thought would irritate Warren, any possible little thing, through whatever drama they had while the tour was going on, whether it's catty wives, this and that. You could only use your imagination. This is the way it is. Even me, I'm not, like I said, he was managed to get my girlfriend banned from the cruises and stuff. That's over with. I mean, I'm pretty sure if we got offered a cruise, I'm pretty sure I could have Susan go at this point. I think all that's been under the bridge. But I mean, at this point, so much damage occurred in my personal relationship. As you can imagine, this stuff spills over. You know what I mean? It's like when you have your boyfriend or whatever is being bullied or whatever, fucking I'd say bullied for kids, harassed. Your boyfriend's being harassed at work and whatever, and you're hearing about it, nothing's being done. You get tired of hearing about it after a while. It's a freaking turnoff, you know what I mean? Or it makes me look weak. You know what I mean? It's like, how come that everybody's doing this to you? But that's how strong the manipulation was, and how he was just a master of manipulation and rewarding these guys, letting him sell all this merch on his show and doing all these things. When it came to merch at the shows, once he had his girlfriend working there in this, I would set up my merch, and those two together would take it off the table, or they would move it way off to the side, while they would let Johnny have his CD, his pick set, his fucking whatever. We were only supposed to have one item each, and he had like 3 items front and center on the thing. Blossoli's huge bass drum and a drumsticks and this and that. And that had Get the Funk Back CD, a hat, a fucking this. I only had one item, and they would throw it off to the fucking side. And that started happening when I was out selling the band. Like one night Jason came back. I think it wasn't even a lot of things. I sold like 8 pick sets or something, which they're like $20 a piece. It was nice for me, have a nice extra $160. I'll take it. Thank you. And I kind of laughed about it or whatever. And from that day on, my stuff was just like not put out there. You know what I mean? It was like, I would put it out there and set it up, but then I would notice later it wasn't. And finally I just went, fuck you guys. I stopped even taking any merch. I go, what's the point? Why am I taking this if they're just intentionally fucking me at the merch booth with it? You know what I mean? So that was that. And now I have to make more merch. I'm actually getting ready to make a new pick set, and I will advertise it. And I'd appreciate if you guys bought it when it comes out. John Evans, I always thought that dude and his girlie were skimming the merch money. I got that vibe. Anyway, seems slimy. Just my opinion. No, he was. Not to mention that, I hate to I don't want to put my friends in like a weak light by any sense, but just as we know, you guys that are around my age, and we have our parents and stuff like that, and we've had our grandparents in the past, the old timers get to an age where you got to watch out what people are doing to them. You know what I mean? You got to watch out for them. And, Steven's pretty, for a 70-year-old guy, is pretty with it, with the internet and his iPhones and his whatever. But, you can spin people's brains with stuff. You know what I mean? If you're a master manipulator, you could really get into people's heads. And one thing that he had worked out, which was, to me, was insane. He had somehow manipulated Steven into getting a full member cut, like getting the same amount of money as we get for performing the fucking concert. That's insane to me already. So he was getting that. Then he was getting 10% of the meet and greets. These meet and greets are like $200. Okay. Then he's a piece. They're $200 a piece. And Steven would sometimes have 100 fucking people lined up. If it was like a festival or something, it'd be like 100 people out there. If it's, a typical show could be anywhere from 5 to, 25 people maybe at him, but he was taking 10% of that. And then he was taking 10% of the merch. Okay. He had convinced Steven that it was better to have his girlfriend out doing it because you can trust her. Wink, wink. You can't trust the local person that you pay $100 to do the merch. You need Michelle there. And they had no books, no nothing. And she has been complicit, by the way, on everything. Like, she's, in my opinion, thrown away any chance at working for a law firm. Because if she thinks for a minute she's going to get a job at a law firm, and the comment section under the Google business or whatever is not going to tie her to this guy's crimes and that she was a part of, this guy, I hope he does become a felon, because right now he's not. Right now he hasn't been charged with anything. The evidence is there, but it's really up to district attorneys to like pursue such things. But if it does turn out that he goes down for something, she helped him with all of it. And she also helped get rid of accusers, help bury comments. She handles all that on his channel. She is off to the side with a full-time job of getting rid of all of his enemies that are on there. I don't really have too much of that. He tries to attack my show. Most recently, I switched my show to his day. I switched it to his day and time, right? And all of a sudden that shit kind of stopped, right? Because he was on the air and he couldn't have his fake accounts get to me. So what does he do? He bumps his show to like an hour later so he can at least get a whiff of if I'm talking about him or not. And he did. For like the first hour tonight, there was a couple of stuff in the chat. I had to bounce like 2 things that were probably him in there, and then it stopped since. But there's no doubt he was carrying so much cash around, and Steven is so trustworthy. You know what I mean? He was always just looking for somebody just to handle things for him. Like a lot of older folks might, you know what I mean? They're like, just take care of this for me. And it's like, you're holding all that cash. And when you listen to him on his show, his arrogance and how he felt he was responsible for all the success of the band, and how he basically was the puppet master. We're just puppets. You could see where maybe he felt he probably was owed a little more. He ain't gonna miss this. That idiot doesn't count this. Hey, watch this. His girlfriend probably thought it was so cool to have him. Yeah, baby, I'm gonna buy you some teeth. I'm gonna buy you some new teeth, girlfriend. But she took her kickbacks, and she took the life. She left her son behind. She has a son in Los Angeles that she just left with her parents. You take care of the brat. I'm gonna go on cruises and hang out with Wednesday 13 and hide all the evidence of these allegations here on my show. So she'll never fucking work in a firm somewhere. That's another thing I'll make sure of. You know what I mean? Because you can't silence these young people that you hurt and think you're going to have some cush life. I'll make sure of it. I will make sure of it. His best bet right now is to probably sell all his collectibles, sell his Kurt Cobain autographs, sell his Ramones shit, sell all his Funko dolls, and hire someone to kill me. That's his only fucking hope. And I would love to go out like that. I'll take a couple of those guys with me that he sends. But that's his only chance, because I will drag his dick through the fucking dirt for the rest of my life for what he did to me. With the end to those girls for the rest of my life. He will never get away from this. Oh man, this is great shit. Well, I'm glad. Tell your friends about it. Jay Lee, I'm going to say this. Steven is loyal to you, just like you are to him. 25 years and counting for a reason. Love you both. Yes, I wish Robin Crosby was still alive, and Chris Hager in a way. These are all close friends, lifelong friends of Steven's, and I'm proud to be included in that. You know, I've said that before, like, you know, a big rock star like Steven has no shortage of people that would want to be his friend, but you know, he has kept the kid from across the street as his friend. He trusts me. He's told me I'm the only one he trusts with the catalog, our solo catalog, things like that. Very means so much to me, because I don't have the highest self-esteem, you know what I mean? And sometimes I have to remind myself of such things. I go, hey man, you ain't a chump. There's a multi-platinum dude that thinks the world of you and has always kept you. No matter how fat you got or bald you got, he kept you right there, you know what I mean, or whatever. And that means a lot. And he loves my playing. You know, he always wanted me to be to take Robin's place in the band, not because of the way I look, but just because of the way I play and my personality. He thought was similar, my sense of humor, and just the way I play solos and stuff. He thought was very Robin like, and he always thought I'd be perfect. But business is business, and I accepted that too. So whenever Ratt reunited and took another player, I was okay with it. And I'm grateful that I always liked being a Ratt bastard, baby. I always liked being in Steven's solo band. So many good times. And it's all the same, man. Whether it says Ratt back there or Pearcy, it's all the same to me. We're playing those songs. It's great. And I get to write songs with them too. So it's awesome. When it's all said and done, for the people who think Erik is bogus, I can't wait until the day he says, I told you so. Yeah. Those things, I mean, when you watch documentaries, like I said, in hindsight, and you get to see these people talk about what it was like back then, you know, and it's like, holy shit, how did that monster fucking do all the things they do? We see it all the time in these documentaries, right? It's insane, but you're witnessing it in real time how it works, and it's even worse when they're in the entertainment business, because they use their manipulations to protect themselves too. You know what I mean? I can't tell you how many people didn't want to like speak out because they don't want to burn their bridge or anything with this guy, because he makes you think he could just make you a star or something like that. But I don't know, man. I don't think so. I noticed Johnny started posting videos of himself playing Ratt solos on YouTube right after Warren came in, almost like he was trying to see I'm better. Oh, he definitely is. I mean, that was very pathetic of him to put out those videos, in my opinion. I know Steven was offended by it. You know, if Johnny has not told people why he was fired, I did not fire him. I was definitely responsible for getting Jason fired 100%, but I had nothing to do with Johnny being fired. I didn't even get to finish telling the story earlier about the merch. I kind of get emotional and start rambling all over the place. But that particular day, going back, if you're just joining us, go back and listen to earlier in the show tonight. We're talking about him embezzling merch and taking a piece of everything and all this. But when the accusations came that he might be doing such things and everything blew up, and they were trying to get rid of me so much around this time, Steven goes, you're not driving in the car. We didn't want either of those guys in the car with Bloss and the rest of them. Made him drive with me. When you say drive with me, at this point, when Michelle was coming on the shows, I was being sent separate from everybody else. That's how fucked up it was. He would rent another vehicle and I would drive it by myself. So there was an extra vehicle because that bitch is in my fucking seat in the fucking car. And he's caught. He makes Steven thinks he's saving him money in some level. I don't think renting a Denali for Erik to follow is saving Steven any money. But on this particular day, those two guys had to sit in a car with me. And it was a very tense, awkward drive. And I remember Johnny, I'll never forget it. I was like, so guys, whatever. He's like, why are you being nice to us? What are you, stupid? You can't tell everything we've done to you? And I was like, I knew everything they had done to me. It's silly that he thinks he's so much smarter than me. It's such a joke. But I go, what are you talking about? I was almost playing them. You know what I mean? It's like I said, I can't kill them in real life. They're not worth it. You know what I mean? But I could kill them with kindness and keep my job. And that's pretty much what I did. And I kept that going towards the end. But at the end of Johnny's tenure, he had been reprimanded so many times and been given so many fucking chances for so many different things. But Jason was always there to somehow cushion it and somehow keep him around. Somehow he was able to manipulate the situation and keep the guy there for obvious reasons. He needed him to be there. And so he successfully did that. That is until we started playing some shows with Bret Michaels and Vince Neil. And he just, Dana Strum, who plays in both Vince Neil's band and in Slaughter, very respected guy in our camp, very, very intelligent man, great career this guy's had. He's been nothing but cool to me, been nothing but cool to Jason. I mean, honestly, Jason was a fake it till he made it guy. You don't know how much stuff Dana taught him about tour managing and this stuff. I mean, he didn't know anything, and Dana taught him about a lot of stuff. In fact, Dana would even take care of stuff. Like if we were on the bill with Slaughter or Vince Neil band, Dana would actually help get the hotels and know which places to get and to provide the transportation and such things. Super cool, right? We were on a bus. We were on a bus together, and Johnny decides that he's going to do his typical shit talking, and he decides he's going to shit talk Dana Strum in front of Bloss, in front of the crew, in front of everybody. Dana was just like sitting in the front seat hearing all this. It was so embarrassing. Talk about jeopardizing our band. You know what I mean? Like jeopardizing. Here we are. We're finally gone from just doing the solo shows to we're on with Bret Michaels and Vince Neil on a fucking run of shows. Like we're getting to this bigger point, even though we're opening, still pretty awesome. And here this fucking troll is fucking endangering this for us. I mean, he upset Dana so much. Dana was going to fire him. Dana's like, we're dropping this motherfucker off at like the next gas station. And he was like, Steven, you got to get rid of this guy. Same with Bloss. Like Bloss has always been so cool and nice. He hated Johnny. He hated the way he sang. He hated the way he played. He hated his fucking tone. He hated his complaining. And he came to me after one of those shows and he was like, that guy's I've never seen him that mad. Never seen him that mad. He was like, that guy is fucking done. He talks shit about you. He talks shit this. He fucking embarrassed me in front of Dana. I mean, they were in Slaughter together. You know what I mean? So that's what ultimately got him fired. So whatever he's telling you people outside of that, whatever he's telling his fans that buy his merch or whatever, oh, they're just jealous of me because I play better. Warren got rid of me. He's out telling people that you want to know why I got let go because of this guy. He thinks Warren got him fired. He's so arrogant. When Pearcy DiMartini came to Vegas, Johnny marched right into fucking Warren's dressing room like he's on the same fucking level of any way. Just because you could play a guy's song, you didn't write that fucking song, and you have none fucking platinum records on the wall, dude. And you are not 10 times better than everyone out there. He has nothing on this new record whatsoever. I would have said that on the 3 years he was in the band, that guy didn't come up with one fucking riff, but he did. He did actually come up, and I found this out later. He gave Matt one song idea, and what's funny and classic Johnny, he was so jealous that I was the main songwriter for Steven. he was like, fuck Erik, why are you using that guy? You should have me write all your, like, always stabbing in the back. And I think that's a Chicago thing, honestly. I think those guys, a lot of those guys are that way. But he was like, I'm 10 times better than him. I'll write your records. And so he sends a song to Matt that apparently was so fucking atrocious and generic and stupid. Matt literally just opened his fucking wastebasket and threw it in there and shut the fucking thing. And that was the end of it. And he actually was like, yeah, I could do that all day long. And Matt's like, okay, whatever. I mean, Matt's aware that, like, I'm not I don't get called into Steely Dan recording sessions, and I'm not Mr. Jazz Exploration. But Matt's also well aware that I was given a gift to come up with original riffs and Steven's genre that are really great and that are as good as some of these, top stars, rock guitar guys from the 80s. It's at that level. And he recognizes that, and he respects me to that level. And he likes the Fright Bike, God damn it. But yeah, so I just thought that was a little side thing. But half of the hate I get are from Johnny's fans. He has some kind of personal relationship with a few individuals. I don't know if he's like their guitar teacher or whatever, but these guys, this one guy, Matthew Rayleigh Shred, this guy, what a disturbing individual. The things he said about me on different sites, like the Gurus, on Christian Duke's Sights, Sounds, and Flavors, the lawyer guy who stepped in during the Jason bullshit, things he said on there, things he said on Stevie's Metal Sludge page, atrocious shit. He's gone after Marsha and the fucking, my Super Carrot Marsha. He's sexually harassed Marsha online, saying she's I don't even want to repeat it, but this is his buddy. That's Johnny's fucking personal buddy. And he was such a coward when Bloss and I confronted him. Bloss confronted him because he wanted him to stop singing, because he sings like a Muppet. But I confronted him because this guy that I knew was his friend was out smearing me everywhere. And the guy had all Johnny's merchandise. He had like at one point, Johnny fucking made a suitcase that had Chips Enough on it. And I know some people might think that's funny, but I think that's sad and pathetic. You know what I mean? To harass Chip that way, an original Enough's Enough guy. And here's this fucking hired guy's fucking still holding a grudge over whatever. I don't know. But he's actually like using Chip's likeness and selling suitcases with that. I mean, I found that to be very off-putting when he played with us. And I noticed that this guy, Matthew, had that suitcase. He bought it, and he had a lot of other Johnny shit, and he called Johnny his spirit animal. And wow, Johnny had this guy out doing a lot of damage on me. And when I brought it up to him that day, he lied to me. He's a coward, and he fucking lied about it. He said he didn't know who that guy was. I don't know who that is. And I go, oh, you know who this is. I know you know who this is. And I go, you don't know who this is? I'm like, why does he have your fucking suitcase? Why does he have it, right? He's, oh, and then suddenly he remembered. He's, oh, yeah. And then I guess he talked to the guy and told him to stop, right? And I got this apology letter from the guy, and he's talking about how great Splon amps are. I'm sorry. I have a mental disorder. I'm sorry. I said some weird shit. And once Johnny was fired, he sent that guy back out to go back out and do the damage again. And let me tell you, Johnny, you might as well put your name on it, because you're the one who weaponized your good friend to go out and do those things. And you've done a lot of embarrassing things that I think have ended your career. I think it's over for you personally. I don't think any band is going to hire you. I know you showed up to the not the Enough's Enough, but the singer did a show in Chicago, and you pathetically showed up there and got a photo or whatever. But I'll have you know, if you're wondering who called him and told him not to work with you and Jason, that was me, motherfucker. That was me that called him up and told him that you guys were fucking pedophiles and not to go near you guys. And so him taking a picture with you doesn't mean shit. You'll never play in Enough's Enough. You'll never play with any fucking national act. You'll be in a casino having people call out cover songs, playing by yourself, as you deserve for how you stabbed so many fucking players in the back, including Joel Hoekstra. Yeah. What these guys said about Joel and his buddy does the acoustic, Brendan Gibbs or whatever, what they said about those guys on their show is disgusting. And when us artists all kind of talk now after it, everybody's like, wait, he did this to you and he did that to me and he did this. It's like those guys are done in the fucking world of the music business. Jay Lee, I love hearing the truth from Erik. This stuff is what everybody needs to hear. They do. I hate saying it, but when I see the comments in the comment section, no, Erik was the problem. No, Erik's lying. It's all Erik. No, it's not. Yeah, I should be given a fucking medal for anything. I should be given some kind of fucking plaque. Actually, Jim Martinez sent me a plaque that's around here somewhere. He gave me a plaque that called me the #1 rap bastard. So I did get a plaque, and it was from Jim Martinez. The proof's in the pudding that Greenbound guy doesn't have what you are the most valuable videos on his channel anymore. And he was cocky saying he owned the videos. Yeah, of course he was. He was the threats he was making. And believe me, this isn't over. I'm sure when Stephen passes away, he's going to try to remonetize that. And me and Christy will fuck his face for that. He will never get away with that. And he's not outliving me. There's not with that diabetes. No, he is not going to fucking outlive me. And he took the vaccine, and his girlfriend took many vaccines. So dying suddenly and unexpectedly is what I'm expecting. Oh, hell no. Don't F with Dolly. Oh, when Johnny said that, that was the last insult that he fucking that he said out of his fucking mouth. And I destroyed Jason's channel that very next day. Johnny's words was the straw that broke the camel's back and sent me after Jason. And he went running like a bitch back to his mom's basement. No, I'm just kidding. He went to his Las Vegas condo that he lied to everyone and said that he rented an apartment when he actually completely owned the place, bought and paid for with his mommy and daddy's money. I met JG last year. Jerk. Yeah. Marsha, JG using the hotel ride share to film TV sites and YouTube instead of doing his tour manager job. I can't tell you how many times he left us hanging. Where it's like, where the fuck is this guy? Like, they didn't have our shit right and this. And I almost got to the point where I thought he was purposely fucking shit up for us so that it would take, our sound checks would take longer and he could stay out longer filming more locations. It's crazy, man. Jay Lee's team, Erik. Yeah. Don't forget, he resurrected Steven's career. Yeah, he wrote Round and Round. He wrote Lay It Down and Way Cool Jr., You're in Love, Lack of Communication, all that. Marsha, T-Cuz, even Bobby talked about JG. I really wish Bobby would have handled that different. I think Bobby should have fucking sued Jason back then. I don't think he should have allowed Jason to go on that press junket sexually harassing him and humiliating him that way. I think that the stuff that came out of Jason's mouth in regards to Bobby was so disgusting and just fucking indicative of his pornographic life. I mean, he would love to transition and make you think he's some big producer, but he's a porn guy. He's a sleaze bag. He was groomed by his dad to be a collectibles dude in New York. So from the time he was a young punk, he was stalking stars outside of their fucking hotel in the airport or wherever. He would be paid $100 to go wait outside. Because what else does a fucking young punk have to do, right? A teenager, nothing. Sit outside. And also a kid probably has a better chance of getting an autograph than some fucking old dude, right? So he was paid to stand outside and wait till Kurt Cobain walked out or whoever the fuck walked out and get the autograph and sell it and get his money. And he was groomed to do that sort of thing and understand the value, and not to take away from the experience of such things. And, you know, a lot of us enjoy memorabilia, and it sucks that a guy that does talk about interesting things on occasion is such a horrible monster that's hurt so many people in his life. But I assure you, there's plenty of other people that make location videos. There's plenty of other channels that interview rock stars. And if you're angry about the tour diaries, they're right here. I have them now. Even some of them even have those dipshits in it. But the ones now don't. And going forward, they have Joel Hoekstra and Matt Thorne and myself and Blas Elias. And on occasion, they're going to have Jimmy Deanda and Logan Stoliker. as well. And David, our tour manager, who's actually such a great dude, and like it was it's everything right now. I'm just like, man, we could have had this the whole time. I can't believe we didn't. JG filming a movie called No License to Drive. Yeah. Well, I mean, I would expect him to do more videos of actresses and actors that don't have big estates. You know what I mean? That died. It didn't have a big family estate that's going to go after Jason, because typically, like, I don't think you're going to see him doing stuff on a big time person that probably, you know what I mean? Like, some estates have lawyers that handle this stuff all day, but some's telling me like Dana Plato, this other Dana one, wouldn't. Like, no one was there to help her when she was alive. You think people are out looking for her, how her likeness is being used today? You know, probably not. And so that was why he chose to, he's very, but I like that he's thinking about death. I like that he's thinking about death, and hopefully thinking about his death, you know, because maybe he could be buried in that cemetery and somebody else could walk in there and film and talk about his disgraceful life and how his sad ending, just like he's doing. He's exploiting these other people. I actually know JG's ex-girlfriend, brother, the one who died that Brent Muscat talked about. I remember hearing when she died, and I heard weird shit about JG back then before his YouTube. I had no idea about any of that. I'm going to be honest. He did paint himself as a victim with the one girlfriend that I'm not sure if it was the one that OD'd or had cancer. But both the situations were weird. Like, I'm not sure the specifics, let me say that, but from my understanding of it, one of them died from cancer, but he was being paid to hospice her. Like, he was like, don't pay a nurse, kind of like the merch thing with his girlfriend. Don't pay a merch girl, have Michelle. It was the same kind of thing, like, pay me and I'll take care of her with her cancer. And she died, and it was weird. Something weird happened with that, but whatever. But then he had another girlfriend where she was supposed to be rehabbing off of like heroin or something. He was like, oh, don't pay for a rehab. Keep her with me. And then he was taking her, apparently, according to Brent Muscat, he was taking her around to a lot of terrible situations and putting her around drugs intentionally, probably. But when you think about who you're going to exploit, it's easier to exploit people on drugs. You know what I mean? Generally, it's just easier to do that, unfortunately. And he's just really good at doing such a thing. But that girl also died. You know, I have to ask you guys, like, how many of you have had, you know, multiple girlfriends die on you? I mean, certainly, I would imagine heroin addicts, probably that could be a possibility, you know what I mean? Because it's so easy to overdose. Or if you're a fentanyl addict or something, you probably had a few girlfriends that died. But he's never been a heroin addict. He's a type 2 diabetic or something, type 1, I guess. I forgot. Whatever the one that you're born with. So he shoots up, but it's insulin. You know what I mean? But ask me how I know. He does it at dinner. We'd be out at dinners, and he'd think he's like Sid Vicious with his leather jacket. Oh, everybody, let me shoot up here at the table. I was always so pathetic and embarrassing. It's like, go to the fucking bathroom, dude. These people don't know what you're shooting up here at the table. But he thinks of himself like he's a cool punk rock guy. It's like, no, you're a sick man with diabetes. But yeah, you're hearing it from other people too. When Brent came out and mentioned the circumstances with that, it was weird. And then the whole pornography thing is weird. I don't know exactly how he ended up in Vegas. I'm not sure, but the whole porn industry moved to Vegas, and it had to do with the condom laws. Like, Vegas was the one place that didn't have to use condoms. So LA was no longer going to be the place, or New York or whatever. It was going to now be Las Vegas. And at some point he was doing pornography. He was directing it. He was writing scripts. At one point, I'm hearing from associates that he was running a similar to, like, I guess, a chat room, porno chat room type thing out of his apartment, where he would have girls working at his apartment and the computer set up, and they were having to do their sexual things. He wasn't a part of that, but he was running it and profiting from it and doing that. So he's always had some kind of hand in the porn industry. So when you're judging him, you know, he doesn't talk about that much. He doesn't mention that part, you know what I mean? But when you're starting to understand how he's capable of going after these young girls, you have to understand the whole picture. You know what I mean? And the part where I'm just speculating, total speculation here. I don't know this for a fact. I know that he has nude photos of underage, or he had them before he deleted his shit or got rid of his phone, or whatever the fuck he did when the cops got onto him. But he had these underage nude photos. So what the fuck was he doing with them? That's my question. You know what I mean? Was it just for his own personal? Because his connections with the porn industry make me concerned. You know what I mean? I'm like, I would just think with this network he has and his collectibles and the people, I don't know, it just stinks. You know what I mean? I could see where maybe that, knowing that those have a value and knowing how he is, I just can't see him keeping it to himself and not making some money off it, giving it to the, knowing somebody you met in the industry. And you know what I mean? I don't know that to be true, but I know that those photos existed because I know some of these girls were scared that to speak out because he had such photos of them. And that's a fact. And so these kind of things make me so mad that I want to kill the guy. I just, dissociation with us disgusts me. It's just like I'm gonna have to take a shower after even fucking talking about this guy tonight. But anyone that props him up, does anything to help him, I'm just getting so resentful of. Eric, are you pissed at the guru? Not really. No, I'm not. I'm not. I was disappointed that the Matthew guy that I talked about earlier, the guru left his terrible defaming comments that Johnny had him go put everywhere. He left those up there after I personally called him and told him to get rid of him, and he left it up, and I was offended by that, but I don't hate the guy. No. I feel bad for him, kind of, because I feel like because of Stevie, he's getting kind of dragged into this, because he was also a guy that doesn't have a full head of hair that was one of Jason's victims for a good amount of time. And I don't know why he would have Wednesday 13 on, because that's his buddy. And I mean, Wednesday comes on his show and it's like, oh, I'm Jason Green's best friend and Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Cosby, you know. But I mean, it's a joke. I'm joking with the last two names, but I mean, even Jason, I mean, he's best friends with Ron Jeremy, who was a rapist that went to prison. They let him out finally because his brain's gone or whatever. He's in a hospice or something. But it's interesting, you know, when you ask, you know, Jason about that, he goes, no, he didn't rape anybody. It's all, it was buyer's remorse. Buyer's remorse. He says that all the time, and that's such a I think all these fucking rapers and pedos all fucking say that shit. But no, I'm not mad at the guru. I'm happy for his success, and I've also, I don't know if I told him that directly, but anybody that's doing podcasts to promote rock music that I play and create is helping our genre. As long as he continues to do that. I mean, if you're going to make a dartboard out of everybody left in the genre, then you're just going to help put a hole in it. You know, you're just going to help kill it. You know, if you're just going to point out what a joke it's become. But if you're somebody who, you know, is trying to promote it, then you're a friend, you know, and he's done a lot of that. He's kept a lot of interest for this sort of thing. And he's been a platform for these artists that we love to come on and do their thing. He's done these cool, like 4-hour interviews with some people that don't do that much interviews. So no, to answer your question, I do not hate the guy. I don't hate Stevie either, but it bothers. I'm fucking bothered by it. Not going to lie. Matthew Rayleigh on here on his alt account. Yeah, he's Johnny's butt buddy. That the weird thing is the guy has a family. The guy, like, I looked the guy up because I was gonna go hunt him down too. And he's in Nebraska, I believe. I think he's in possibly Lincoln. And last I got, he was like working at a hospital, and he has a family. Dude's got like 4 kids and a like a adult daughter. And I was shocked, really, that he was saying the things he was. And I don't know if his wife knows that he's out doing this stuff. I don't know if the hospital that he works at is aware that they have an employee that's out stalking and harassing people on the internet and saying these fucking terrible, untrue, like defamation on the internet. Like, I'm pretty sure. I mean, you guys tell me what you think. Like, if your work got a hold of your online stuff and you were sexually harassing Marsha online, and you were Marsha, that's in our chat tonight, and you were defaming Erik from Stephen Pearcy's band, would your boss be like, ha ha ha, that's awesome, this stuff you're saying on the internet? You get fired for that stuff. They don't, especially like some kind of place that works with the public, you know what I mean? Like, do you think that hospital wants to deal with somebody coming to fucking kill you or beat your ass at work? You know what I mean? You're putting their staff in danger. You know what I mean? With your mouth and shit you're doing. You don't know who you're dealing with or what you're doing out there. It's good practice to not accept such. Your social media, what you put on social media matters. I mean, most of these people doing it are pussies that, like, once Matthew got like banned from all these places, Metal Sludge and YouTube, under his name and shit, then he starts with the burner accounts. But I could tell by what he's saying, they're things that Johnny would say, so I could kind of tell he's pushing for it. You know what I mean? It's Matthews, what I'm trying to say. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure. You know what I mean? But I'm on to him. I'm kind of like figuring exactly where he is and where he lives and stuff like that. And I'll get to him. I'm going to be known as the Terminator, the guy that just gets you fucking fired for being a jackoff. Spicoli, where's the fucking hype button, son? Hype it up, y'all. Shit, what am I, 3.5 hours in right now? Seen Doug Aldrich with Reb and Whitesnake. Wow. A lot of contact at Marsha P. This is my super crack carry. This is one of the, I hate to call anybody. She was one of the people that was harassed by Johnny's fans. And it's a shame. This is such a good woman right here, guys. She is a buddy. If you're come to my channel, please, friend her up. She's a great person. A lot of content creators and podcasters are turning a blind eye and forgetting that they should have a moral compass. I guess a few clicks and views is worth it. Not to me, man. There's so much shit that I could have like used to get this channel going. You know what I mean? And I'm just not into it. For one, I don't really even care about money that much. My goal with the channel was to have it pay my rent. Like, if I could get it to just that point where as long as I don't have to get like a real 9-to-5 job to where it's going to take away from my music creation and my content creation and the cool creative Fright Bite stuff I'm getting into. That's my goal. I think it's going to take about 5,000. I think once I get to like 5,000 to 7,000 subs, the channel should probably cover my rent, and I'd be happy with that. And then I just want to kind of focus on music and have hopefully my income mostly come from touring, because I get paid really well to do that. But as you know, I'm sitting home on my ass right now. Spicoli, I talked to my buddy in the feds. They say JG is fucked. Well, yeah, I'm hearing that too, man. I'm hearing that too. But then part of me, like everybody else, and the part that who I feel for the most are his the underage victims of his, that they're 18 now, but it's like, to not see justice coming when they try to do the right thing and call a guy out. And that's I don't have tears anymore at this age, but my heart bleeds for them the most. But I feel like I have something in common with them, and Marsha feels like she has something in common, just with Johnny's sick fans out there doing stuff. But that's how it is. T-Cuz, man, that's messed up. They held that information like that. What a motherfucking a-hole. Dude, there's so much shit. I could never get it all out in one show. I could never get it. I had considered, like, actually, for poetic justice reasons, especially watching him make documentaries about the rise and fall of people, I wanted to do one about him. And I just don't, with my YouTube channel, I got to be kind of careful with that, especially because it's not worth making unless I could use his face. So I think as of right now, I'm just going to wait till he gets arrested, and then I'll fucking consider it. Snoop's here, y'all. What up, my dude? What's going on? We talked about it. Oh, that's right. You go to Snoop's channel. I do an interview with him as well. Give him a sub. Yeah. Pool time saying it's getting a lot of rain here in Tejas, but we're not flooded out as bad as San Antonio. Yeah, I'm friends with the gentleman that runs the San Antonio Zoo, and he was today showing some pictures from his area. He's going, I don't think I'm going to make my flight. He was supposed to fly somewhere, and like the roads are just flooded out. So hopefully everybody's taking care out there. A lot of bad weather in the country right now. John Evans saw tornadoes were hitting the area. Bad stuff everywhere. Dude, Dana has great stories. You should have him on for sure. That would be hilarious. I have Dana's number. I love Dana. I mean, to me, those guys are like, it's like Uncle Dana, to me. And he's always been super fucking cool to me. One of the coolest things Dana said to me personally, and he plays with Blando, he plays with the best in the business, you know what I mean? So any compliments from these guys, I definitely make me feel great. But he said, the first time I saw you playing, man, I saw you up there. I said, this guy knows how to 80s rock. And I was like, fuck yeah, thanks, Dana. Okay. Was always wondering who exactly it was that Cornhole Johnny attacked in a special way. Only some narcissists like Johnny can. Yeah, he was like I said, Jabba the Hutt and that little monster. That's kind of what Jason's show turned into. It was like he liked the good cop, bad cop. He would let Johnny say the most vicious shit about people in our circle, and then Jason would be like, oh, that's terrible. Allegedly, he'd be the guy up to the side while he's saying totally terrible things. I try to keep it more just a testimonial about what he tried to do to me. But he wasn't able to. I mean, he really thought very big of himself, that he was way up here and I'm way down here. And he found out the hard way. He really found out the hard way on that. Richard Calvin, Johnny's nothing special. In fact, the other guy I used earlier this year was much more accurate. You're not wrong. I mean, Logan Stoliker came in and smoked him. And in fact, I was impressed with Logan on stage because for his first show, and I'm sure he was probably a little nervous, he was running around. I mean, just like, Joel and I are trying to do the same thing, but Logan's on it. You know what I mean? Like our stage show is improving so much. Johnny never moved around on stage. He would, that's part of the show. You know what I mean? You're getting paid so much money. You need to be up there entertaining people and putting on a stage show. You know what I mean? And he would make fun of me for sweating. I'm like the only guy moving around. You know what I mean? Next to Stevens walking back. Of course, Bloss is back there doing his thing, but we like that Matt's kind of John Paul Jones, like back there. You don't need everybody going nuts, but I mean, we need two guitar players that are putting on a show, and he just wasn't, you know what I mean? And if he was in a bad mood because his girlfriend was banging somebody else or whatever, he would just sulk in the fucking corner or stand back by his amp or almost, I don't know if he has back to the crowd at some points, but it was bad. It was just a bummer to fucking be around. And, when we did finally get these new guys, I was mad. I'm like, we could have had these guys the whole time. We're listening to Mr. I'm 10 times better than everybody else, which is horse shit. New dude is a rock star. Yeah, I'm flattered to be playing with Joel Hoekstra. He's been very kind to me too. I mean, he knows he's fucking better than me on guitar, but he doesn't treat me like that. You know what I mean? He's gone out of his way to be cool, and he's told me himself, you can play any leads you want. Don't think you have to give me everything. Like he loves to put on shows. He's a world-class performer, Joel, and I'm glad he's in the band. I feel like this is going to make me step up. I'm going to have to step up a little more. I'm pulling out the old Jedi weapons, man. I'm like, okay, the Charvels are coming back out. I feel like, getting the old lightsaber out, right? Damn, had no idea. I bet Marsha could claw his eyes out. Marsha's been one of the few people that stood up for me, and she's not doing it with burner accounts. You know what I mean? She's Marsha B on Facebook and stuff like that. And she puts her, when I see her getting That's what got me talking about this again, was seeing Johnny's people and Jason's people attacking her and trying to prop Johnny up and Jason and saying bad things about me and her. I could take a lot myself, but you start coming after my friends and family, you're fucked. Looking to see some more comments to read here. I think Dal Haps say, I think you should play a longer solo and lack of communication. Yeah, I mean, I just play the solo Robin played, and it is super short. And thus far at the end, I think Joel's been doing something. But I mean, people need to see something new every now and again. You know what I mean? It's like right now we got Joel. Let's give Joel a chance to really blow your minds, you know what I mean, on some of this stuff that you paid good money to come see. And it's not about me playing the solos. I'm up there with those guys. I get to play some solos. I'm playing the harmony solos. I really don't care. You know what I mean? I've played great solos on albums. You know what I mean? I could write a great solo, a shreddy solo, but that's not like what I want to be remembered for. Like, my dream was always to like be a part of a band that had some radio songs that people loved. They're like, oh, I fucking love that song. You know, I remember that song. You know, I'm good with that. You know what I mean? I do not care to be like recognized as some soloist, you know, that has to go do all these soloist clinics by myself. I play with the band, the stacks of amps, the dudes, the singer, the bass player, the drummer. We're all up there. We're all up there putting on a show. That's where I thrive. Who's this Kick Jeter guy I've never seen before? Seems like gossip, like high schoolers. Is there something better to talk about? No, there's not. But since you're not happy, I can get you out of here. Yeah, these are like Jason's peeps that show up that are upset that talking about their cult leader. I will talk about your cult leader every Wednesday. And there's nothing he's gonna goddamn do about it. And I'll just ban you from here. So have fun. All right, guys. We got drummer Troy here. Yo, bro, tuning in. Have you guys checked out White Lion lately? They're fantastic. And Troy's currently drumming for them, and they have a really amazing guitarist too, and the band sounds great. So if they do come to your town, come check it out. John Evans is saying Logan's very impressive for such a young man. Great stage presence and poses. He definitely has a bright future. Looking forward to it. Yeah, I told him that. You know, I know he's bummed he's not out there with us right now. I'm like, dude, you're 25 years old. You have this whole freaking life ahead of you. You're gonna play with us again, and don't worry, it's all gonna work out. Just enjoy the ride. Steve Lasley, everyone knows a person like JG in everyday life. They're surrounded by minions and flying monkey types. It's like middle school cliques, mean girl movie crap. It is that's fun. And when I don't know how many subscribers he had when he first started working for us. I want to say it was only like, it was under 10,000. I want to say it was like between 5 or 10,000. And he started at a really good time. He had started right when COVID hit, and it was like a captive audience. You know what I mean? Plus there wasn't nearly the people trying to make a living on YouTube as there is today, 6 years later. But yeah, he had gotten into it then, and him and Johnny had a little cult kind of following. But when he started working for us, it definitely started to take off. And as you know, Stevie Rochelle promoted his channel, it just started to pick up. And then he was getting better interviews. He explained to me that the one that really changed it for him was Carlos Cavazo. Like, all of a sudden, Carlos Cavazo, he scored that interview, and Carlos hadn't done an interview in like a really long time. So it's like his first video that went viral, and that's kind of all you need to kind of kick it in gear. And that kicked it off for him. And then he just kind of became an exploiting machine. You know what I mean? Any possible angle he could take, he did it. He's a very greedy mofo. Jay Lee hopes I write a book someday. I'll write a book. It's been such a weird life. Hey man, Eric, you gotta go. Okay, yeah, that guy. Yeah, I got rid of that dude. All right, everybody. Jaylee, awesome show tonight. Yes. Sorry it turned into that, but I mean, these are, in a way, I need the therapy myself. If I could be honest, it's like this was a lot for me to fucking deal with the last 4 years, and I'm still trying to like make sense of it. I don't have a psychiatrist, so you guys are that. Sometimes this is like the therapist couch every Wednesday. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to make sense of it all, and but I don't like the public being swayed or confused. And so I will always be here to set the record straight. You guys got a question, come on here and ask me. I'll tell you all about it. But anywho, good times tonight. Yeah, West Side. We'll talk to you guys next week. Fright by Tuesday. Be there or be square. Be cool and be kind to each other. Unless it's those motherfuckers. Then you could say whatever you want. Otherwise, I'm nice to everyone. Except those two guys. Right. Anyways.